Hi, good morning, all.
Good morning to you all. I'd like to call the meeting to order and take the roll.
Mark Doyle,
Here.
Amy Bondieri. Here. Tom LaPel,
Here.
Jen Tacone,
Here.
Brian Berrien, Christopher Munn.
Here. Any conflict of interest disclosures?
I have two. I have Crofton Muse and, which I don't know if that's what it's called. The O'Neill
Yeah, it
Group.
is.
Okay.
Mhm.
And Locust Crossing.
Locust Grove.
Locust Grove.
Yeah,
Mhm.
excellent, thank you. I think that we will be okay with our quorum going forward for those. If needed, proof of meeting notice, we have, yes.
Yes,
Bills and communications,
none.
none. Approval of minutes, would anybody like to make a motion on the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. That.
Christopher Munn,
Yes.
Jen Tacone, Tom LaPel, Amy Bondieri.
Approve.
Approved. Jane, could you give us the report?
Looking at the balance sheet as of June 30th, we have 2.1 million in cash. We have the receivables coming up within the next couple of months of the 427,000 that's near Bow and Belfield. Looking at the P&L, we have revenue 116,000 to a budget of 327,000. So far, we're unfavorable by 211,000. We have expenses of 663,000 to a budget of 764,000. So far, we're favorable by 101,000. We're at a net loss of 547,000 to a budgeted net loss of 438,000. So far, we're unfavorable by 109,000. But just looking at the expenses, as you can see, Dutchess Destination was paid. So the 600 of the 625, I mean, 655, 625 has already been expensed out. So
The year,
we're
right?
we're not looking to be over budget in expenses.
Question. Thank you. Don't need to put those
No.
either way.
Reports from committee, we had an initial policy review meeting with regards to our housing policy, which is being developed. As I indicated, and we met in June. Not much was achieved, given that it was our inaugural meeting. And so we have a subsequent meeting scheduled during the week of July 20th.
Thank you. Any unfinished business?
No unfinished business.
As we consider that. So the first item on our extremely busy agenda, and I want to say that right out the gate that considering that number one, there's so many items. Number two, that there's an enormous amount of information for our board to go through and to consider. This, we will get as far as we can and table things that we feel we're not comfortable yet with proceeding on, just to lay it out from my perspective anyway, but open to the board's preference as we go along. So the first item then is the consideration of preliminary approval of the inducement of the Mid-Hudson Development Corporation, Town of Poughkeepsie, for sales tax exemption and mortgage recording tax exemption for $11.421 million. And that's for a 32-unit multifamily residential apartment development at 2736 and to 2738 South Road, Poughkeepsie. Your town Supervisor Edwards. So
Before proceeding, a representative for that project is waiting in the hall. I'll step out, ask them to join us. And if I may have them sit next to you.
I can grab.
Oh, you'll grab them? Okay, great.
Before we leave, Amy, I just want to say that we should consider, as we're going through the things and deciding what we're going to work through today or not, that we should seriously consider, if things are going to be pushed, that we have a special meeting or an additional meeting this summer. I've been on planning boards, zoning boards. The worst thing for applicants is not being disapproved or being approved. It's the uncertainty and the delay, right? So these all came in at a possible inopportune time for our summer vacations or our summer breaks, but take that into consideration and see if we can, have another meeting if it becomes necessary.
I agree with that.
Agreed.
Good, we're all in agreement with that, so. Fine.
But not a fee, not a special meeting with a fee, right? Just a meeting.
Just an additional meeting.
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
additional meeting.
Yeah,
No, special meeting's a fee.
correct.
Extra
No,
fee,
this is
no,
a
I
no
think-
fee. This is-
Right.
Right.
And all this,
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Okay. Make this work.
if we want to sell tickets.
Good
Yeah. It's stadium seating.
in this price, right?
This is Jane, if you could just wave your hand so that she'll know that. I think that Sarah's. So they're bringing in additional seat, yeah.
See if there's somebody else who needs it. Yeah. It's right. It's right here.
Yeah, I've got one over here.
Does somebody want to sit here?
Love their. Let me, the dream.
Can you introduce? James, welcome to our meeting. You're representatives of the Locust Grove
Correct.
project. Could you introduce yourselves?
Yes, absolutely. I'm Kelly Leibolt with KARC Planning Consultants, and this is John Morrow with KARC Planning Consultants. Kelly and John.
So the project before us today is Mid-Hudson Development Group's Locust Grove location on South Road, on the northbound side of the South Road. Just as you're entering the city of Poughkeepsie, although it is located in the town of Poughkeepsie, across the street from Locust Grove Historical Site and next to, I believe it's a Holiday Inn. The project owner or the applicant is proposing 32 market rate units in townhouse style buildings, 2 stories in height. And I'll ask either Kelly or John to tell us more about the project.
Sure, thank you for that. As you had indicated, this is obviously in the town of Poughkeepsie, so we see the town of Poughkeepsie people here. This is a 2.46 acre property. For those who may remember, this was the subject of a house. There was a house in the back of this property and it caught on fire several years ago and was recently demolished as part of this, moving forward with this project. The project's in the town of Poughkeepsie and in the Spakman-Kill School District, just for reference purposes. The applicant is proposing it's an 11.4 million project when you combine the construction costs and the soft costs and acquisition. In November of 2024, the planning board approved a 32-unit apartment complex. These are 4 buildings, as you had said, they're townhouse style, and they are all 2-bedroom units. Rents are ranging from $2,600 to $3,200. We use $3,000 as an average for purposes of the pro forma. We're here to seek sales tax and mortgage tax exemption. We are not seeking a pilot, so just sales tax and mortgage tax. We've done some calculations in our application. I'll be very brief, but our sales tax request is $442,500. I won't do the smaller numbers, but it's $442,000. How do we come up with that number? So we generally use 70% of the construction costs. I know there's always this debate of 50, 60. Lately, it's 70. Materials have just increased and increased. And so when you do the calculation, it's 70% of 7.7 million. And it ends up 442,000. I can go through those in more detail if the board would like. The mortgage tax, there's a $10 million request for lending for this project. And so when you do that calculation, it's $105,000 for a total benefit of $547,567.13. There are community benefits that we had listed on your application. Of course, it's creating much needed housing in the town of Poughkeepsie. There's investment of between 10.1 and 17.5 million. That's the box on your application. There's MWBE participation, including ourselves. We're a WBE. Creation of public infrastructure. These buildings will be energy efficient. And as far as construction jobs, the estimate is between 81 and 160. And so we don't want to discount that because we know that that certainly is an economic stimulator for the area. Permanent jobs is going to be approximately 2 full-time equivalent. There'll be the creation of overall management of the site, marketing and leasing, admin for accounting, and then on-site maintenance. I just want to make a point about Mid-Hudson Development. For those of you who don't know who they are, they have been around since 1988. The owners have lived in Dutchess County. It's privately owned, relatively small business for 55 years. They are historically using local contractors. They have a strong base of local contractors in Dutchess County and Hudson Valley. And they predominantly have built homes throughout the county. So they have a pretty big footprint in this area. That's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Go right ahead.
Kelly, would you be able to tell us how many children are expected to join the Spackman Hill School District? I believe the footprint of these units are 2 and 3 bedroom, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms. They're actually 2 bedrooms. So I think the number entering the school district is relatively low. I don't have that number in front of me, but because they're 2 bedrooms, we're predominantly seeing singles that are using 2 bedrooms with an office, or 2 people who likely don't have children. And that's typically what we're seeing in apartments like this.
If you could share that information, sure. I think that would be beneficial for the board.
Right. No, I'm not familiar with Spackman Hill District, but most districts are experiencing a reduction in their children
Population.
Child population, which can result in inefficiencies actually, as opposed to what we were experiencing 25 years ago, where we had where class sizes were too large. Now class sizes are getting so small that it's starting to cost more for people in the other direction. It's certainly something we would want to know, though,
Okay.
in terms of the number of children. I also think there was a correction on what is the deal with the 75,000 versus the 100?
The mortgage tax.
105,000 on the mortgage tax.
The MTA exemption.
change.
Right. The MTA exemption is a requirement. And so, when you say.
Well, there was a correction,
The
right?
CEO comments down below says that the commercial is 1.05%, but we cannot give an exemption for the 0.30 that's included in the 105 for the
Right.
MTA.
So, yeah, I just.
75,000 instead of 105.
And the reason why I asked for clarification is because we're throwing around so many acronyms. I wanted to make sure that those of us who are listening are clear on so there is a portion of the mortgage recording tax that is required to go to the MTA for the trains that traverse, or the Metro North that traverses through our county. We have something like 4 stations a month. And so that is a portion of the tax collected that cannot be subject to exemption.
Okay.
And so that's what I wanted to
Right.
point out.
So
So
that-
we report what we're seeking, but we understand.
Okay.
I think that's the
Right,
question,
and so, right, and
There is the
so,
portion that's
Right.
exempt.
correct,
Right. The applicant's at 105. and
Yes,
my
correct.
understanding is we can only do 70.
correct.
Okay, makes sense.
Good. Did you have any more?
I haven't any more questions. Any other questions from the board? Since we have guests representing the town of Poughkeepsie, did you have any questions?
No, this is on all residential project, correct? It's not mixed use.
Correct. This is, yes.
Now, we have had a practice in recent times of having combined, particularly on these residential projects, of having Camoin do essentially a reasonability analysis.
Mhm.
Residential being, quite
Correct.
an awkward beast with a lot of variables from a point of view of analysis.
Yes.
And so that
is pending,
is
but
pending.
we will proceed with getting analysis from Camoin for the reasonability and then share that out with the board as well. And Kelly and I have worked together several times, so she realizes
Where we.
Yeah, it's-
where that's
Global,
part of our process.
Fishkill Crossing, that Camoin report was excellent. Identifying of the 58 units, 42 are going to be new people to the community with disposable income of $46,000, and the impact economically was tremendous.
And
I'd love to see that,
Mhm.
given the benefits. And, again, there's no pilot on this.
Correct.
Right. So I think I could say, to me, this makes sense, but we do need to do our due diligence and go through the process of
Understood.
things.
Absolutely. Okay.
So, if there are no
I have,
further questions, you have some
so,
questions.
so you're saying we're not going to vote on this? You're not thinking we would vote on this preliminary?
That's my thought.
Okay.
At your
All
pleasure.
right, I'm just confirming what I'm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
why wouldn't we go with a preliminary resolution pending the Camoin report?
We can do it conditionally as well, but
Well, I mean, I would base my final decision looking at the economic impact from the Camoin report. I don't know, I can't remember because that was one of the first times we've seen that economic report from Camoin for Fishkill Crossing.
Mhm.
So I don't know if they prepared that after we gave them preliminary or not. I can't remember.
And-
I know that we need it, so I'm just going to put that on.
Correct.
Right.
And it is part of our process. And so the request was extended to Camoin, but with so much on the agenda, it isn't yet available. But we can, as the board would see fit, preliminarily approve moving forward with review of this application. Once the Camoin report comes in, I'll share it out with the board. And again, at this stage in the process, for those who are listening in, for the public that is listening in, this stage of the process is just an initial review of the application and the ask of benefits from the applicant. This does not determine that the board is going to move forward with approving the ask of the applicant, which is for mortgage recording tax exemption and sales tax exemption. And so the board can approve moving forward conditionally. Once the Camoin report comes in, we share it out, and it's also, and that would occur before we do have the public hearing, which is also part of our process.
But the public hearing always comes after the preliminary anyway, correct?
Correct.
So I would think with the Camoin report and the public hearing, we give them the preliminary resolution and then we come back and see if we're going to give them final or not.
Correct.
That's what I would do.
I think we could also, so go ahead.
So it's the notice process to the town for the public hearing in terms of lead time and so forth. That's also a part of those. There's not a pilot here, but just making sure that since there is a financial impact to the town, that we are aware of the public hearing process and have plenty of advance notice for that.
John, do you have a point of opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, the typical way we do this is we listen to the application, whether it's a full board meeting or it's done preliminarily with the executive director, get everything together, and then including any kind of reports like Camoin report, and then pass the preliminary resolution. At that point, if you're considering a special meeting as well, the typical process has been to only pass the preliminary resolution after you've gotten all the information. So you're really giving an indication that this is good. We want to hear from the public. And when we have the public hearing, you should have that Camoin report in place, and it should be available to the public so that they can see it. And at that point, I think the way to handle this generally has been to get all the information in. Here, we have the slew of new things coming in. We want to hear from the applicants to make sure, and you can give them the nod,
But
basically
let's
saying
focus
everything
on this
sounds
one.
good.
Correct.
There's other things on the agenda,
Right.
but let's not treat any, just because we have a crowded agenda, we shouldn't punish or enable, any of the other members.
Well, I was just
you know.
telling you what the general
Yes,
practice.
so the general would be to wait
Regardless
for
of
the
the agenda.
Camone, to wait for the Camone report
Right.
before we give preliminary.
That's right.
Okay, so we need more info.
So my point only was that it's not going to really affect any of the applicants if you're going to have a special meeting soon and you can get that information in, then you can follow your regular practice. That's all.
It's fine.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is as long as the Camoin report is in place and published onto the website before the public hearing is held, public hearing being duly noticed according to our practice, which is within 10 days of the public hearing, the notice is sent out not only to the county level, but also to the taxing jurisdictions.
Sure.
And the public then also has opportunity to either appear at the public hearing, they can send comments in advance of the public hearing to my email address, which is published in the public notice. And then the public can also join in person at the public hearing. And any comments that are sent in advance of the public hearing to my attention are shared with the board in advance of the meeting, as well as with the IDA's counsel who conducts the public hearing. So
that's a good layout of the public hearing, noticing and so on. But I think that what we actually had heard and discussed just prior was that we should first receive the Camoin report and collect everything together prior to making the inducement resolution, prior to going forward with the
Or at
resolution.
least that's been our practice.
That has been our
It's been our practice.
It's been
today.
our practice.
Obviously, as a board, we can decide, but it's
Correct.
And
been our practice.
I feel
Correct.
like, yeah, being able to have
The applicant would just ask that the board consider inducing this, just to give us some direction. We certainly don't want to be, as you had indicated, kind of penalized because there's some other projects that are on the agenda. And I think the Camoin report, we're hoping to have it before today's meeting, but we would just ask if the board would consider, passing a resolution today, at least advancing this project, subject to, of course, the receipt of the Camoin report.
And the Camoin report will be received in advance of scheduling the public hearing. And
No, I understand all
Yeah.
that, but what makes sense is what Ms. Leibel said is that it's been ordered.
correct.
So the time frame remaining until we receive that report is how long do you think?
10 days.
So 10 days from,
Typically 10 days.
so 10 days from now or 10 days from a week ago, I guess, is like when should we have the Camoin report, I guess?
Let me get back to you on the exact date.
All right, well, 10 days from now
10
is
days from now.
the 18th, but we're looking at having a meeting in August because we have a busy agenda for the summer.
Right.
Which is fine.
And more than likely will be, if we have to have an additional meeting, not a special meeting where there's a fee attached to it, then we'll be looking towards the middle to the end of the month of August.
not unless you have something that you know about, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
It could be earlier as well.
Yeah.
And we have to circle around and see
Right.
what's available.
Right.
But yes, so I think with that granted, yes, it certainly would be a way to condition a vote on the receipt. My issue with that is that we have not the ability to have a discussion on the basis of the facts that Camoin has brought out prior to the public hearing. We will have that discussion, but it'll be a post-public hearing when we get to the final resolution.
Well, the public hearing won't be for how long?
Well, the public hearing is,
Unless we have a special meeting and a meeting and then in between and we have that on the agenda. is
no,
what
no,
I'm
no,
saying.
the public hearing will be scheduled after the receipt of the Camoin report.
That's right.
So it will allow the board an opportunity to review and discuss. And then we'll schedule and decide whether to move forward to the public hearing or
Have another
a discussion and ask the applicant to go back and make revisions if that is what is determined by the board. So in any process or operationally, the public hearing will occur after the receipt of the Camoin report.
And after the preliminary resolution, no? Isn't that what we said as well?
That's what you're
That's
saying.
That's kind of,
Again, I just want to say the receipt of it is one thing we'd like to have. I'd like to have a discussion on the basis of the report prior to the public hearing.
Fair enough.
And that's a matter of if we're going to schedule an additional meeting in August, it sounds like the board may be agreeable to that. In which case, the Camoin report will be in hand prior to the board meeting. The board then makes a decision which direction it will take. If it then decides to induce, then the public hearing occurs.
So are you suggesting then that this wouldn't really be on an application before the IDA until September?
What I'm doing is
Okay.
presenting to the board its options.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're just trying to, I mean, obviously, on
Sure.
behalf of the applicant,
I
we're
don't-
in the middle of a construction season, so we're trying to
Sooner the
move
better.
forward as quickly
Right.
as we can.
Liz.
So the only thing that the preliminary resolution is really doing is authorize proceeding with the public hearing. So if you're comfortable saying we can proceed with with scheduling a public hearing at a future date, so long as you have the Camoin report by the date of that hearing, then you can go forward with adopting that resolution. If instead you would rather wait to proceed with the public hearing until the board can meet again, then you would table this resolution for a later date. So that's the question is, are you comfortable authorizing proceeding with the public hearing today, or would you rather put that decision off until a later date?
All right, so if the Camoin report comes in and, we've reviewed it as a board, we can't really discuss it except at a public meeting anyway.
Right.
So we can't get on the phone with each other and be like, I don't like what's in here, maybe we shouldn't do this or that. I
Absolutely.
mean, so then how do we even indicate not to schedule the public hearing to so I feel like that's an issue of transparency there. I understand what.
yeah, no, what I'm trying to say is, the difference between preliminary resolution and final resolution, okay? We got a fine line here, waiting on one report.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole
Which
idea of-
unfortunately is not, is.
The whole idea
hurting the
of the inducement resolution from the beginning is, yes, we were looking favorably upon this. We have to take care of a few things.
Mhm.
So that's why the practice has been, they make an application. If we have everything in advance, they come in, make their presentation, and you have all the information, and you can then say, okay, we now induce this project with the preliminary resolution. Let's go ahead with this and we'll schedule it in the normal course of business. You've already given them a clear understanding that unless something goes wrong here, this is a project you can do, so they can take that home. They won't have the actual document, but they can get that document with a special meeting. I don't know if it has to be at the end of August or anything like that. And then they can be approved at a final meeting. But the question simply is if you want to.
No, I understand that, and I agree with you. So I will make a resolution,
Motion.
a motion, sorry, that we do table the preliminary resolution till a next meeting that should be in the month of August upon receiving the Camoin report and then in giving it, going
Considering it.
considering the preliminary resolution.
I'll second that.
Is it plausible that that meeting could be in July? That.
Well, you can pay the, what is it, a $500 fee for a special
For a
meeting to
special,
bring us back
yeah.
together. Yeah,
Okay, so
if it's
plausible
convenient.
that
Oh, yeah.
Do it in July, okay.
But we want to have an August meeting, I believe, we've discussed that. So that wouldn't push you to September is all I'm trying to get you on the agenda for August.
Right, and even if and the way again, it's under discussion, I guess, of the motion. You know, even if we were to approve this, the Camoin report comes in, we can't even discuss it. And then we go to the next meeting and then we say, oh, it all looks good, let's do the public hearing. So we're in the same timeline we would be either way.
It's the same.
So this,
You know, it's essentially where we're at, because we don't have a report now, and we can't discuss it offline.
well, we have a motion and a second on the
Yeah.
table, so let's take the roll and vote on that and move ahead.
Christopher Munn,
Yes.
Jamie Pacone,
Yes.
John McCall,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon. But Amy has the-
Good morning. Good morning.
All of these are preliminary.
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah.
We don't have any.
Right, right.
We have never done a preliminary for the,
Well,
No, you have to do the
Okay,
public
We have to have
hearing.
a public hearing in between.
Many of them are that are listed preliminary.
It won't
Okay,
be.
so right, let's, well,
Unless they do a special.
They do if they do a special meeting to get preliminary, then they can get authorization for final in August.
Correct.
Without the special meeting, they don't get approved.
Right.
No matter what.
100%.
Even if we had moved today, they couldn't get approved.
Right.
Final approval.
Yeah.
But preliminary approval is up some back. It's a mess, because they can sort of,
Yeah,
they're convinced.
it's sort of the difference between the,
It's made it through this level, this stage. We made it past the vanguard of our staff. Yeah,
true, you go.
that's the initial filter.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the next one is
Is, IBM.
IBM, so we're bringing them in.
And nobody here was
I think we'll need two more chairs.
expressing any skepticism.
Yeah.
Opposed, no, not at all. If you do that, so.
It's very.
So unfair.
And it's the meeting schedule too. We have two. And two a month. Somebody's. Did you see? We're waiting on the final.
Is that to you?
That's an easy job. Yeah, take it.
File with a board company. They canceled these two meetings. They couldn't support the pie.
No,
They were verbally support.
Yeah.
You know, so like you said, it's the meeting, it's the pace of the meetings and summer.
It's
Yeah.
uncertainty. Yeah. I'm not asking anyone to represent.
No, no.
Just make a decision so business can one way or the other.
See everybody?
Do it.
Yes. So Jasmine, do we fill out this form, not giving preliminary resolution?
The ones that are on.
I think we can just hold on.
Just making sure.
Don't have hands. They can't fit everything. Yeah, they did.
You ready for them?
Oh, that was.
I think Robin's taking them in. I would.
Best they're doing a less than audible.
Great. Come on in.
I'm going to make a fun play. Let's do it better.
Let's get a little cool. Usually AC's working. I have a heater in my office because it gets cold. It's like cash on it.
Rocky history.
Oh, that's your pen spot.
If you want to head up that side, either way.
We lose
I guess. then-
1,000 FTEs.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the gun today.
Well, of course, same with Amazon. We take our 500 jobs.
We can make room here for everybody.
Mary, you should sit.
There's a spot here too.
There's one here.
Sarah, do you want us to go?
But that, okay, Sarah,
There's a primary speaker. This would be a great chair for them. There's going to be a primary speaker. Yeah.
I'm emotional, I'm the emotional support.
Very good. I think Robin will be in a second, but since
And then we're looking to do a PowerPoint presentation. Is there a way to control the slide?
Okay, so Peter is listening in, is the tech guy. Let me just.
Yeah, he can do it.
Is he? I want to make sure that they're just asking if they can do the
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
Oh, I sent it over. They're setting it up.
Okay.
So you'll be on.
I'll
And-
just
and-
go next slide then when we go through. So.
And if you could do that, yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
That's
voice
activated.
All right.
Peter, just let us know when you've got the presentation ready to go. Here we go.
So I just welcome you, and if you'd like to introduce yourselves, Sarah needs no introduction, of course, but
Sure.
go ahead.
Absolutely. First, just thank you for your time and consideration today. My name is Meredith Black, and I am counsel for IBM Global Real Estate. I have with me here today some of our consultants, Dan Hubble from Wegman Osterman and Hannah LLP, as well as Logan Dawson. Also joining us virtually on, and she's not on screen now, but she was before, is Heather Saunders from IBM Quantum team. And we really appreciate the opportunity to sit here today with you and to partner with the IDA on this proposed project and historic investment in the IBM Poughkeepsie campus through the creation of an integrated commercial scale quantum facility, centralizing engineering, fabrication, assembly, testing, and quantum computing. Next slide, please. Here we go. Good cue. As you know, today's meeting is a public meeting of the agency to introduce the project and begin the agency's process. We anticipate a formal public hearing on the requested assistance will follow hopefully later this summer. Since you've had an opportunity to review the application, I'd like to take a few minutes today just to provide you with the why. Why IBM, why Poughkeepsie, and why the ask. Next slide, please. You've all heard about quantum computing, about the promise of quantum computing offers in revolutionizing fields such as drug discovery, climate modeling, and mathematics. To date, quantum computing has focused on learning about the how and why of quantum computing, and continued investment in this field has demonstrated a growing appetite for such tools. So much so that there seems to be an ever-increasing investment by both the public and private sectors in quantum computing, particularly with the promise of fault-tolerant systems ready for commercial deployment on the horizon. Next slide, please. While quantum computing can occur anywhere, the development of quantum systems and centers are concentrating around regions that combine research depth, specialized infrastructure, advanced manufacturing, supplier ecosystems, and most importantly, public-private partnerships. New York is primed to be such a region, particularly with IBM anchoring its chip manufacturing in Albany, research and development in Yorktown, headquarters in Armonk, and a campus with existing infrastructure conveniently centralized. The IBM Poughkeepsie campus offers a unique opportunity to leverage existing infrastructure and redefine a historic IBM property. Next slide, please. IBM is well positioned to make these advancements. With leadership across the value chain to ever-increasing deployments, IBM understands the market, the customers, and the technological advancements required to commercialize quantum computing. Next slide, please. As I said, the IBM Poughkeepsie campus offers a unique opportunity to IBM. Next slide. Poughkeepsie has consistently represented a strategically significant site for IBM and an economic pillar in the region. While its 39 buildings and 3.5 million square feet of building footprint require significant investment to modernize and compete for future opportunities, we're confident in this opportunity because we've done it before. Next slide, please. In the 1940s, IBM used Building 604 for the production of the electronic calculating unit. In the 1950s, Building 701 became the center of computing manufacturing. In the 1960s, the machine that defined modern computing was tested at Poughkeepsie. And in the late 2000s, we began bringing quantum systems to the Poughkeepsie campus. Next slide, please. Extending the breadth of quantum computing at Poughkeepsie will bring the IBM Poughkeepsie campus into the next era of computing. Next slide, please. The proposed IBM quantum facility is intended to enable commercialization of quantum computing by co-locating research and engineering, fabrication, assembly and testing, and quantum computing within one location, creating a complete end-to-end value chain within the Hudson Valley. Next slide, please. The first of its kind, IQF, is a risk for IBM and requires a significant financial investment by IBM. IBM's application to the IDA seeks to balance some of that risk through a pilot and sales tax exemption program, tools which foster long-term financial predictability and support capital investment in the property, but for which the project would be substantially harder to justify at this scale, and which, in this instance, are not anticipated to detrimentally impact existing taxes. Next slide, please. The proposed facility is anticipated to be approximately 300,000 square feet and located on the south side of the campus. The new building would replace two existing buildings, that's buildings 415 and 414 that you're seeing highlighted in blue, with a larger building and a standalone generator building. See those both on that lower right-hand side. Next slide, please. The proposed facility would create 140 new full-time jobs and with anticipated salaries ranging between $48,000 to $170,000 per year. 250 construction jobs during the 18-month construction process, and facilitate the retention of approximately 2,000 on-site full-time employees. Next slide, please. With time, the benefits of the new facility will extend far beyond those of job retention and job creation. It will create an increased taxable base, and it will anchor IBM to Poughkeepsie for a long time, for a future to come. Next slide, please. While this project is still being designed and is in the planning process, we've put together two renderings providing preliminary perspectives on what the building may look like. This one is from the southeast corner of the parking lot. Next slide, please. Well, the next one is from IBM Road. While IBM has a vision for the development of quantum, it's your support through the requested pilot and sales tax exemption that enables and shapes project economics and scope, and will help define Poughkeepsie's long-term competitiveness. We look forward to working with you on this project, and we welcome the opportunity to continue this discussion within the context of a public hearing later this summer. Can I answer any questions for the board?
I'll be too. I'm sure there are plenty of questions. I think I would like to give the town of Poughkeepsie supervisor opportunity to ask the first batch of questions.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to state a few things at the beginning here, and I'll be really brief because then I know the board members are going to want to have more of a conversation. But as a town supervisor and a member of the public, I just wanted to make sure that a few things are clear. The town officials, we all became aware of the proposed pilot when the agenda was published. So it was actually 2 days ago that we were aware that a pilot was being requested. In the application materials that the IDA has presented, I haven't seen the application itself, but in the IDA's materials, the box for municipal support is checked. And I just want to make it very clear that the municipality has had no opportunity to review the pilot and no awareness of the pilot until this time. We have welcomed the quantum project, subject to the planning board specifics about, all the things that you have to do when you go through a planning board process. But our building and planning departments at IBM's request have been actively working to move the project along. And that we welcome this as a renewal of the town's relationship with IBM. But there has been no discussion of a pilot with the town. I had a long and cordial relationship with Ron Hicks. I miss him not being here now. And the policy of the county has always been to follow the municipality's lead on whether or not a pilot is warranted. So I think it's important at this stage to be clear that the municipality has had a chance to consider this. I do have some questions. As far as I understand, for a quick early reading, the proposed $2.5 billion investment is calculated to result in a property value increase of only $4 million. It appears that the number of jobs at the facility, by the numbers on the forms, would see a net reduction of 174. And under the public benefits, of course, of consuming interest to the town is that there's an estimated $21 million in lost property tax revenues. We do, I think that IDA board should be aware, have had a 30-year pilot with IBM that began in the mid-1990s. That's most unusual. It has a flat payment from IBM to the town that has remained the same for the last 30 years, and that pilot expires on the last day of this year. I'm sure the IDA was involved in that pilot in the 1990s. I doubt any of us were around when that pilot was agreed on in the mid-1990s. At that time, IBM was really struggling in the first major set of layoffs had happened, and it was a very difficult time. So that 30-year pilot being what it was, it expires at the end of this year. And so I think that in terms of what current taxes are, what the current tax situation is, that's something that we need to consider as well. So I think there's a lot that needs to be understood here better, but just wanted to make sure those facts are on the public record. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Do you want to go right in and answer some of those questions, respond to some of those questions? Or?
Yeah, so Dan Whiteman, Osterman, Hannah, I'm project counsel for this. So a couple things. I'm uncertain where your employment, like how you calculate the employment numbers, because based on our numbers, we anticipated a net increase of 140.
We fixed the numbers in the packet.
Right, but the packet says that there are currently 2,300 jobs at the site, and at least 2,000 of those would be retained. So there's a net loss that more than offsets the proposed gain. So we just need clarity about what IBM is committing to in terms of keeping current jobs as well as creating new ones. How we report numbers.
There's two different asks that are made. There's no anticipated net decrease. It's a net increase of 140 jobs. When the jobs are reported in the application, that's based on both full-time jobs that are counted, as well as then we have interns that come and go over a period of time and are calculated in there as well.
And later in the application, there is a table that does have employment.
That further clarifies.
We haven't received the
None of us have seen the
application.
actual application. So that's one of
We've
the-
asked for it, but we haven't received it.
It's fine. So let's not get dug into those details.
Yeah, but
Those are important.
I think the other thing in terms of the 30-year pilot request, the thought, so I think for all to understand that this is the first investment in what IBM sees as a multi-phase investment. The way the technology is moving right now, and again, we have Heather Saunders who can speak to the technology. We're looking at doing an investment in the next 5 years. And then at the end of those 5 years, looking at making further investment as the technology advances. And so the reason why we're looking for a longer term pilot than the typical 10-year IDA pilot in your UTEP is because of the long-term vision. We don't know what the investment is going to look like from 5 years from now, because we don't know what 5 years from now is necessarily going to look like in terms of technology. We do know what the next 5 years looks like, and we do know what that investment looks like. In terms of the cost, if you look at this project from just a real estate perspective, this is not actually a really big project. This is taking down existing buildings, putting up slightly larger buildings. So in terms of the actual, while the cost of the new building is, roughly what, 900 million, we're also taking down the buildings but the main investment is actually going to be within the fabrication process that's going to be included into the property. And so that's, so if you think about, hey, we're producing widgets, right? And so the quantum computer is the widget. The stuff that we need to be able to make the widget So, 40 years ago, it used to be, manufacturing equipment that came in one side and out came the thing on the other side. This is what we're looking at in terms, my legal mind, this is what we're looking at in terms of quantum. We get nano chips in, other equipment in, starts at one side of the campus, goes through, and what comes out the back end of the campus is a quantum computer, and so this would be from my understanding, the only facility of its kind worldwide or nationally?
No, worldwide.
Worldwide.
So this, as I said, this is really taking that full end-to-end process and trying to commercialize that within a singular site. That has not happened at any other location, is not being planned at any other location.
This is, it's an exciting development, there's no doubt about it. I think that the discussion on the assessment subject is obviously quite complex. Typically, IDA doesn't get involved in arriving at the assessment numbers. We can be helpful if need be, but that's not normally our realm. So that is going to require negotiation. Well, no. So I think we should leave that particular subject aside for now, because knowing that you will deal with it. Did you have a comment on that subject?
On the facilitation of a conversation between the applicant as well as the town, I've offered to be the go-between to the town supervisor in a conversation we had the other day. And so I'm making the same offer to the applicant. And so we'll match calendars and align calendars to make sure that that conversation occurs.
Certainly the town welcomes that conversation with as much speed as IBM can arrange. We're here.
Yeah, of course.
Very good. Now, I do know that one of the concerns of the town, and it hasn't been raised directly now, I'd say of the residents in general, is a question, which I think I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway, is this a data center and what is the energy component of it? Now, I know the answer, but let's just put it out there.
I think the town is clear that it is not a data center. We've gone through that conversation. So, but just to make sure everyone's clear, this is manufacturing. So,
and the second part of that is the energy use component.
So currently we have a substation that has capacity on site. It's designated for IBM and the facility will utilize that available capacity and is being designed and built to meet that capacity load. Future development and build of the site would likely require some type of installation or improvement, but that's not contemplated as part of this particular project, nor is it contemplated as being needed in order to facilitate this project.
Very good. Thank you.
So it'll have no demand on the public grid?
No.
At all?
There's capacity in the substation today that's been designated by the utility company. That's what will be the demand, is what's already allocated to IBM for utilization.
Are you generating on-site power?
No.
Okay.
But you talked about a generator building.
There is a generator building that will be utilizing power and the like that will then essentially back up the quantum computers and the like. Heather, would you like to provide a little more insight on that?
Sure. Yeah. The generator building is designed, as Meredith said, in the event of grid power loss to kick in to make sure that we're able to maintain that manufacturing and computing operations.
Right. So it's your backup.
Correct.
Your backup.
Oh, are you storing battery power there?
We also have UPS systems on campus. So it's a multi-stage backup process. The UPS would be available for short outages so that the generators don't have to kick on if there's just a power blip. But if the power is out for an extended amount of time, then the generators would be kicked on.
And the planning board's reviewing the battery storage building?
Yes.
Could you give a really brief Reader's Digest version of what quantum computing means?
Sure. Yeah. So quantum computing represents a different type of computing from what we traditionally see today. And fundamentally, I liken it to a different math that's being used, which allows us to solve problems in a different way. So if you think of, for example, If you're cooking something, you can cook it on a stove and you're using heat. It's the same as cooking it on a fire. You're using heat. But if you put it in a microwave, now you're using a different kind of technology to cook that food. So where you see classical computers are using bits, ones and zeros to do computations, quantum computers are using something called qubits, which are a different fundamental math. And that allows you to solve different problems. It allows you to solve some of the same problems in a different way and open up kind of new opportunities and new tools for computation.
Thanks.
Isn't that clear?
Yeah, I got it.
That was useful for us all, by the way.
And you did it without saying the word dimension. Which really didn't scramble any, try to prevent scrambling people's brains by talking about where the computing power comes from.
Or analog. So, very good. Any of the other board member questions?
I'd just like to circle back and get a little more clarity about the FTEs. Just to understand the numbers that are in here, based on the earlier conversation. So, I mean, I've got a block here. It says employment impact, and I'm just reading what's here, not asking it, right?
No.
So it says committed total FTE jobs, 2140, which says 2,000 retained and 140 new.
Correct.
That shows the number of existing FTE jobs to be retained, 2,000 of 2314. So that, I think, is the conversation earlier where it looks like, so you currently, it says currently, this block here says
Correct.
there's 2314 current FTEs at the site, of which 314 are not being committed to being retained, I guess is the way to say it, perhaps. So those, and then there was a mention as interns and part-time, and so I'm just.
So the way.
Hey, Chris?
Yeah.
Do you see this in the appendix?
Yes.
Can you provide the page number?
Yeah, it's-
So.
At page 3.
I'll go read the font. It's so small. No, it's worse than I meant. You need to print it bigger.
No, that's okay. So the application itself, when it defines FTE, is very narrow in its definition. But when we look at jobs on site and how we do our head count and what that means, there's a differentiation. So if you look at, let's see, what do we got? We got, it's attached, supplemental attachment, section 3. Okay, and page 3, it's under, what we have is D at 1. Okay. Appendix. Yeah, maybe. This is the same.
No, I just clicked on. Okay.
Of the application here.
Doing her emails. I had pulled all that.
I assume they would be.
That whole table, probably not in,
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
It's in my computer, but
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah, I had it in my computer. I printed it from
There
there.
it is.
Yeah.
Got it? In the packet?
I have my whole study packet.
Okay.
Very
All right, so.
So,
Oh, we have that
so I'll walk you just through it, even if you don't have it in front of you to explain what we're looking at. So on the first table that we have there, we have the head count as of June 24th, 2026.
Okay.
And we have employees that fall into what we call a traditional office, a traditional non-office, a home office, and mobile. And of those are all full-time employees, okay? The totality of those is 2,365 employees. When you do take out what you would say was the home office numbers there, you then reduce that head count by another 165. That doesn't eliminate the fact that they're full-time employees, but they're out of home offices, okay, they're off-site. So we're not counting them as an FTE on site, all right? And likewise, we have traditional non-office, which can be flex spaces and the like that we have where they're only in the office 2 days. Maybe they're salespeople that are coming and going again. We don't count them towards the site FTE, but they are employees that are tagged as being to the Poughkeepsie site, meaning if and when they need an office, that is where they go to. But the way the IDA defines a full-time employee, we didn't feel that it would be appropriate to simply list the full 2,300 somewhat employees, because that's not how the IDA has defined them, which is why we provided the clarifying table. We, as IBM, consider those as FTEs that are allocated to the Poughkeepsie site, but the definition within the application doesn't squarely store that, so we didn't want to mislead
I
anyone.
can jump in here. We actually looked at the Article 18 AA of the GML. We looked at the Public Authorities Law. We looked at ABO guidance to try to figure out how does the ABO or the statutes identify a work from home full-time employee. We found nothing about that. No guidance. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to be consistent with what the actual on the ground is, from what our understanding is the IDA has in terms of historically an IDA has, let's put it that way, or historically how the ABO has interpreted a full-time employee being on the site.
And an additional note in there that we have, as I said, part-time and full-time employees, both long-term, short-term, as well as interim. All of the individuals that IBM considers as a Poughkeepsie employee, we have about 2,500 employees on site. But due to the way the definition works, we wanted to be very transparent and hold true to that representation of what it is, including in both what we see as the statutory number, but as well as what generally IBM values as the Poughkeepsie employees. So hopefully that table lends it clarity. And I understand the town hasn't seen that yet. My apologies for we've been trying to get everyone coordinate as quickly as possible on things. So I apologize for that, but hopefully that lends some clarity to the board on the employment numbers.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So employment numbers. Fine.
You're talking about an investment of 2.5 billion. Under the CHIPS Act of the previous administration, there was some grants given, I believe, to IBM. $1 billion to start your new Anderson.
Correct.
Is that what this is called, Anderson?
No, that is not, that none of that money is allocated to the Poughkeepsie site.
It's not.
It's been allocated, we have a chips manufacturing location, a partnership with the state in our Albany campus.
Okay.
And that's the site where the money that those funds have been allocated. We have been confirmed with Bruce Hawks, who's also on the quantum team and works with the state and the federal government on those funding sources to confirm that, in fact, the team located at this site in the project, none of those funds have been allocated for this particular project, this site.
Okay, so the $1 billion is allocated towards quantum, correct?
It's, if you want to, sorry, Heather, I'm pointing to you. Sorry for that.
That's okay. We're talking about the $1 billion from the board that's been allocated to the project. Yes, that's
Correct.
specifically allocated as construction costs for this building. So that's actually a subset of the funds that have been allocated towards quantum computing development from IBM.
I'm trying to get to the difference between the Albany campus and the Poughkeepsie campus is what I'm trying to get at, I guess.
So the CHIPS Act funding was for the manufacturing of chips, which is not what's occurring at this facility. This facility will incorporate the assembly of the chips from the Albany location. They'll be transferred down here and into the quantum computers themselves. When we look at the budget overall for the project, we're about 900 million, almost $1 billion, somewhere in there. We're anticipating in the actual physical construction costs between labor, materials, and soft costs for the construction of the building. And then another 1.5 or so allocated for the equipment itself and for the fit up required for the various quantum aspects here, from the R&D to the assembly line to the computers themselves.
So since this is not receiving the CHIPS Act funds, there's no prevailing wage requirements for this project on the Poughkeepsie site. And the 250 construction jobs. However, you say you expect prevailing wage to be all the 250 jobs to be prevailing wage regardless.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So I'm sorry. So if we were to look at the project in this line in totality, meaning your Poughkeepsie part of the project, including Albany, including your main office, give us probably a rough estimate of how large the investment is in this sort of 5-year project period. Is that?
Heather, do you have all that scope?
So that's a bit of a tough number. I think I would have to get back to you on some of the details there, but I can reference the recent SEC filing that IBM put in that suggested that we were going to anticipate $10 billion total for quantum computing development from IBM as a large scale company investment. So that's probably the number that I would point to off the top of my head.
But the reason I asked about the manufacturing between Albany and Poughkeepsie is because under the community benefits, identified growth area, it said advanced manufacturing. That's why I asked the
Correct.
differential.
So what
Yeah.
we're doing, sorry, Heather.
That's okay. So I just to kind of there's multiple steps within the manufacturing process. So Albany represents sort of the very beginning of the steps with the chip fabrication. Those chips from Albany would then move to Poughkeepsie to undergo some additional fabrication in what's called our quantum assembly lab, which is under a separate project with the town planning board and is underway with construction as well in Poughkeepsie. And then from that quantum assembly lab, the chips would then come to this facility, the IBM quantum facility, where we would take those chips as well as a number of other subcomponents. So if you think about building a computer, you've got your processor, that's what has come through Albany and the quantum assembly lab. And then you have all of the other pieces of the computer. So your graphics cards, your motherboard, your fans, your case, all of that is what's happening within the IBM quantum facility. So all of the assembly and testing of those subcomponents as well as putting them into sort of that final product of the quantum computer.
Isn't there actively manufacturing in the Poughkeepsie plant of the?
There
So
is.
Z-
We have Z manufacturing.
Yeah, right.
And that's a big part of why Poughkeepsie, I think, is a really attractive option for us for quantum because we're able to leverage that manufacturing expertise that's there and the existing relationships that we have, with the community colleges where we get a lot of folks in for that Z manufacturing, and we anticipate doing the same for quantum because there is a very similar skill set in a lot of those areas.
My last question is just on a 30-year pilot and the obsolescence of technology and pivoting quickly. I worry about you have your 5-year commitment to this project that in year 15 or 20, it might be pivoting towards who knows. That's where and that's the town of Poughkeepsie talking about the pilot. I think 30 years is a stretch, but that's just my personal opinion. So
yeah, I think it's a reasonable concern. I would point to the fact that this is actually expanding our quantum presence within Poughkeepsie. So we've had smaller scale quantum computers in Poughkeepsie and development happening there over the span of the last 10 years or so. I mean, this is kind of the next step for there. And I don't necessarily see Poughkeepsie as being replaced, more maybe potentially added to as quantum computing grows.
Yeah, but if we go back to Dutchess County, we can see how East Fishkill was replaced. And that's the taste in the public hearing that you're going to get. The contamination in the town of East Fishkill, the 300 building that was knocked down, which is finally back in use. So I'm just forewarning you of the attitudes of some of the residents.
I think that's appreciated. And I think part of what you're seeing by IBM, I mean, the capital investment IBM is looking to outline here is representative of its commitment to Poughkeepsie. This is not lightly taken as a location. That this amount of money allocation by IBM directly from its own pocket and investors into this is really a sense of faith in Poughkeepsie and the opportunity that is quantum computing, of what that brings forward and what it means. If you think about the Poughkeepsie campus, part of the reason I just touched on history here is that over the years, computers are going to evolve. We have no doubt that the technologies are evolving, but the Poughkeepsie campus, the scale of it, the buildings that it has available, the infrastructure that sits here makes it a great location on both geographically for IBM is situated between these key points. But also because of the scale that we have. I mean, if you think about, you could have a virgin land you're looking to do this on, and the amount of cost it would take to bring in new infrastructure outright, that would eat up more than half the budget we have just for this particular project at hand. And this is an upgrade to some of the infrastructure we need to take to bring this into the next generation of manufacturing. But there's a lot of opportunity here. When you look at the layout of the campus, because it has a history of manufacturing and a large population that it was servicing as employees to come and go for that, we have the road structure to do it. We have that infrastructure in place. We have the physical plant on place. There are aspects to this site that really draw us to it. And part of the reason Quantum has looked to come here is we're able to utilize that existing footprint, but also then expertise that, you know, we have across the field, both internally at IBM, but as far as all the different consultants that come and service our facilities and support us. So we have an ongoing experiences with the town. They're familiar with us. We deal with the sewer agency, we deal with DEC, we deal with the county. Everybody has I think a really strong working relationship here, which also enhances the commitment IBM can make to Poughkeepsie, knowing that we can talk to the different municipal officials if and when issues come up to resolve them in a proactive way rather than reactive, where we can deal with the community at large and say, you know, what are the concerns here? What are we looking at? What do we need to address, and have an open dialogue about that? I think all of those things go to your question of like, yes, there in the past, IBM in transitioning business modes has exited some sites, but this is an example of a commitment to this site.
Which is appreciated given New York's reputation for business, so.
And again, I think that the community at large has really been welcoming of IBM and of what we have been, which again is why we're looking to really leverage that relationship here.
Excellent. So let's look at the components on a procedural basis, what is needed and how we proceed. So we have yet to see, we know we usually do our Camoin reasonability test, and you've probably discussed that already and are in process.
It's in process.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to bring to the table is there's still the applicant, so IBM and the town, to negotiate the assessment of the land.
Yeah.
And the question that I'd like to pose to IBM is the ask of of reintroducing the same format of the assessment of the land or of the pilot that was with the previous pilot agreement through the IDA. So I'd like IBM to discuss that here today, and then
do that. Yeah. So the pilot that's expiring was a 10-year pilot. And so just to give some quick history to that, that pilot, I'm sorry, 15. So what had happened is back in the late aughts, IBM had a series of real property tax proceedings that had brought against the town, and kind of going back and looking at the historical file, none of which any of us were involved in. It appears to me that you were involved in that. All right, there we go. So
I probably shouldn't have done that.
yeah. You can tell me if I'm wrong. And please do. But from looking at it, it appeared to me that the pilot was entered into as part of a global settlement with the town and IBM. And in that circumstance, in that pilot, they fixed the assessed value of the property based upon an agreed upon stipulated assessment. That document the pilot had in their language with regard to additional capital improvements made to the facility that provided for every 50,000 square feet added, the pilot went up X amount percent. And so we took that language when we did this, looking at that, not knowing how to approach this, we looked at that, we said, okay, well, the IDA in the town had approved something 13 years ago, but had approved something based on this here. And so we did a calculation, and you'll see it when we sent you the application, we did a calculation that, tearing down these buildings, we're constructing these additional buildings, and we applied that formula. That's how we came up with that number. So it's based upon the existing pilot that we have. I will say that this project has a significant amount of overproduction. Like, this isn't just a warehouse building. Like, this is a warehouse building with tons of bells and whistles in it to do this very specific thing that only IBM is doing. So when you look at valuation of the real estate, like, I do think, recognizing that there's a significant investment going in to just do this one thing that only this one actor can do. And so that's I think, kind of like where our head was at as we were going through this. So it was a bit of using what's in the existing pilot to come to that number, and also recognizing that the investment is really more on the manufacturing side of things than necessarily the real estate side of things.
Right. So understood that there's a process to look back, but also look forward and come to a resolution.
Yeah, and to jump in, we're very happy to sit down with the town and figure out a valuation that makes sense.
Right.
I think it should also be stated that IBM has already, filed a grievance for taxes this year. That we received documents from IBM saying that that they would be participating in the grievance process, and that on those documents, the combined value of IBM's properties in the town was estimated at $60,000. So that grievance process is already begun.
She said 60,000.
She said 60,000.
60,000 or 60 million
No,
60,000
for the total campus?
correct.
for the entire campus.
That's what it says. Yeah.
Can provide those.
I have a deal. I'll give you 74.
I don't think we have any intent. I don't believe we have any intention of moving forward on that further. I think,
Okay.
actually, I'm pretty confident IBM doesn't have any intent on moving forward on that further. I think the IBM's focus now, and Meredith, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think IBM's focus now is just having the conversations that you guys have said you're open to having. To come at a valuation that makes sense.
We welcome that conversation, and thank you very much to Robin for helping to facilitate that. But I'm sure, once you've got us going, we're eager to have that conversation. Thank you.
Do you, Rebecca, do you know when the town reassessed IBM most recently?
It hasn't been done because in 2011, that number was agreed to, and it's been locked in for 15 years.
Settlement for.
So it doesn't get included in the regular.
No, it's not.
No, it's a fixed payment that's remained exactly the same for the past 15 years. And actually that goes back further to the original pilot from the mid 1990s, so that there's no change in the amount. So there's no incentive for the town to reassess in a situation where there's no impact on what property taxes the town will receive.
Okay.
And it's a final year, you said as well, right?
Correct.
And there needs to be something substantial to come along to then push for a reassessment.
Well,
I think there needs to be a conversation now about how we start the next 30 years, which is for 50 or however many, right? It's a very welcome moment for IBM to be making these new investments. It's very exciting to be a site where you're going to be doing something new. Delighted to work with you. We have to have that conversation, not just about the planning board and the, moving the project forward, but also this conversation about the assessment of the property and about taxes. Yeah.
right. So that's obviously is a major component of us being able to move forward. Now, and the other components such as it's part of our list is SECRA, and are there any other missing pieces that we should know about right now?
SECRA is present, but the Camoin report is not.
Excuse me, SECR is not complete because the planning board is the lead agency and they're in that process right now.
Correct.
I'm mistaken.
No, so we're, as I said, we're in process with the planning board. SECR is being reviewed as part of the planning process. And the IDA, I believe, is listed as an interested party on it. So you'll receive that SECR. So there's not a need for an independent study, as that's already being completed as part of the planning process, and that'll be part of the consideration.
Do you know how long the full environmental assessment form application has been into the planning board?
So they are just receiving, they received the FEAF in June.
Okay.
But the full SECR studies are still underway coming into the town currently.
That was an updated FEAF. There's an earlier FEAF that went in March,
April, with
March
that
or
original
April.
submission.
You expect to start the project as soon as you get that, or
That's what we would like to do.
so you have September here, so it's expected.
That's what we're hoping for.
Very good. So I don't see a problem from our side of being able to work in parallel to the town. And, I don't see any reason why we would hold you up, but you have some work to do. And look forward to being part of that.
Great.
That's excellent. Is there anything else? And then we'll make a motion, but since we put it on the table as an agenda item, we need to formally
Table.
table it.
Next motion table.
Second.
All right, Jasmine, would you like to take the roll on that?
Christopher Munn,
Yes.
Jennifer McCone,
Yes.
Paul McCown,
Yes.
Amy Vonderveer.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much.
It was very exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's fake.
I think it's great. The IBM process. Like it's the trademark.
It's gotta be like cold, right?
It's not even that, it's, if you do the, you read the mathematics on, and you say this math problem, take
I'm not a consultant.
the entire energy and heat depth of the universe to solve.
Yeah, let's have that door open for
10 minutes.
Sure.
You're like, how does that happen? And that's why I said you didn't use the word dimension.
Yeah.
Because the idea is, the possibility is that this computing is happening in parallel with infinite dimensions to get that energy.
I took a lot of physics, and the fourth physics class I took involved like what happens when you approach the speed of light and everything just like it doesn't. None of the regular physics holds water.
But just for the record, I am not a consultant to the IBM project. I just came to sit. Hear what they're going on. But whereas I am now going to
You're
be,
now what?
now the next couple projects,
Oh, so-
I am representing the next couple
You rep-
projects,
did
but I
you-
don't represent.
Did you
IBM.
represent the hydro line down the Hudson? And it failed?
I did, yeah.
New York City, the first 3 days.
Oh, the heat wave, so.
They had problems in Canada transmitting power, I read.
Yeah,
That's not good.
I know. That's what happened.
Well, it's new, it's got it was like a small fine print, 20, and it's supposed to
I
supply
saw it too.
20%.
20% of New York City's power, yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, over a million
Transmitting.
homes.
Yeah.
That's pretty,
It's a lot more than what IBM's were.
we didn't even bring up water. Are they using water? Don't they have their own water system?
They'll have to cool.
I mean, I figure the town of Poughkeepsie's gonna.
Yeah,
Well,
but, quantum, well, they won't be operating quantum there, but quantum is, helium to cool.
Oh, really?
I saw something about helium in here, yeah.
Yes, so the coldest place in the universe, the coldest place the coldest place on Earth is Poughkeepsie, New York.
But there's a shortage, isn't there? There's a shortage of
The
helium.
world's shortage of natural helium,
Yeah, there's been.
of natural
You
helium.
couldn't buy the tanks one year. My kids.
Balloons were depleted everywhere.
And somebody shorted the helium market and made a fortune.
I just want to get.
Yeah.
Or no, we have a sub meeting.
No. Somebody cornered the helium market.
Really?
It was like 4 years ago.
I'm waiting for the air shortage, and that's what I'm gonna.
I thought they're gonna put this on Mars with Elon, no? But nice and cold.
So where is our helium found? Is it like where is our helium?
I don't know, but it was crazy.
Yeah,
It's below ground. Okay.
yeah.
Your
There is
next,
like more.
guests are.
It's already here. So,
No, I'm saying they're already here.
yes, they're, so.
Yeah, he looks familiar.
Yeah. No, I was looking around and I'm.
Unfortunately, you have Dan and I representing the House persons, but
Like,
real,
everybody here.
yes, the
Right.
important people are actually here on
Oh, good.
Very good. So what we are doing is we are considering preliminary inducement resolution for the SH Grassmere acquisition LLC in the town of Rhinebeck, providing for a mortgage tax exemption, sales tax exemption, and a pilot for approximately $199.7 million for renovation of buildings, for a hospitality and resort facility at 25 to 29 Mill Road in town of Rhinebeck. So if we have with us here today Sarah Lee and I'm sorry,
Dan Hubble from Whiteman.
Dan Hubble has already been introduced to me and by his name. Put that down.
That's okay.
If you would like to, well, Robin, do you want to introduce the project or just let them go right?
No, just let them go on right on ahead. Yeah, it'll save some time.
So I'll just do some introductions. I'm Sarah Lee. I think everyone's familiar. I'm with HVEDC, Hudson Valley Economic Development Corporation. And we're here this morning to request financial assistance from the IDA. As Chairman Mark stated, a sales tax, mortgage tax exemption, and the standard pilot of the IDA. Soho House is here. They are a hospitality project that has been contemplated in the town of Rhinebeck for over 10 years. And while the project is ready to begin, it needs the assistance of the IDA to bring the project to life in order to secure its financing. So with me this morning on screen, we have Kurt Evans representing Soho House, and he will take the board on a full description and of the project and the scope. Kurt.
Thanks, Sarah. And thanks for hearing us this morning, IDA board. Can everyone hear me properly?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and introduce Soho House for those of you unfamiliar with the company, as well as the project and why we're so excited about it. So I'm just going to share my screen. And can everyone see that?
Yes.
Can you still see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So Soho House, just let me know if you can see the next slide, a home for the world's creative.
No.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. We'll try that one more time. How about now?
There we go. Yep.
So Soho House, we like to think of ourselves as a home for the world's creatives to come together and belong. The company was founded in 1995 by a gentleman named Nick Jones, who remains in a founder role and continues to advise the company in over the past 35 years. We currently operate 49 locations globally, although we're headquartered in the UK, and also many of our sites are based in the UK. We run 1,200 plus hotel rooms globally, as well as a number of F&B outlets, cinemas, and workspaces in certain cities. We currently have 270,000 members and a waiting list of 110,000 members. We are a private members club, and I think it's important because sometimes this definition gets misconstrued, not a club in the nightclub sense of the word, but a club in terms of like-minded folks getting together, exchanging ideas, doing business together, and coming up with new projects to collaborate on. This map just gives you a sense of where we are located. And there's a legend on the bottom left of this slide where I'll draw your attention to the gray dots, which are cities with houses. So those are cities where we have physical locations, some small, some large, some experiential. The purple dots are where we're currently under development, either in a design or construction stage for new locations. And then the orange dots is a separate program that we run in cities that we would like to expand into at some point, which is called Cities Without Houses. So effectively, we are finding that group of creatives in local communities and in that city and bringing them together without a physical house and programming events throughout the year with the ultimate goal of opening in that city at some point. We're a member experience at our core. I think a lot of folks may misconstrue the brand as a another 5-star hospitality brand like a Four Seasons or a Park Hyatt. But ultimately, we are a membership club, and we're, a gathering place for those members. We just so happen to operate hotel rooms and other amenities to support that ultimate business. But our core business is for our members. Part of Nick Jones's mission early on was his fascination and appreciation of historic buildings. And so we do spend a lot of time in looking in new cities and new locations for that historic character. It's something that may have fallen into disrepair and that we can bring back to new life and revitalize. I think that's part of what links many of our houses to the locality that they're within. We're not trying to reinvent or bring a brand new architecture to some place, but rather sit within an existing fabric and celebrate it and be part of that story. Also skip over that one. What makes a house? Our houses traditionally have been, since our founding, relatively urban focused. And so their composition was largely F&B focused. Food and drink is a big part of our business. And then they would have certain bolt-on components such as a cinema or swimming pool or other kind of gathering places that allow the community to enjoy, to have fun, but also to do work. And ultimately, we're an industry of one. We're not a traditional company. We've tried to create something new, but not only a lifestyle and a way of living, but a community with a membership subscription. I think the word house is synonymous with the brand, and that's because we've always viewed our locations, our physical properties, as a home away from home for that community. One of the most important projects as a precedent for the Grassmere project is a property we started work on about 10 years ago called Soho Farmhouse, Oxfordshire, which started much as this Grassmere location, a collection of historic buildings and a vision to create a hospitality and experiential site for our members, this is located about 2 hours north of London. And over the course of its history, we worked to revitalize existing farm structures and bring new life to the property, but also added new construction, so new bedrooms and some of the other images you can see here, paddle courts and other amenities that support that overall experience. So our vision for the Hudson Valley, Soho House Hudson Valley, is similar in that respect. What you're looking at is the master plan of the historic Grassmere estate and the site plan, which we've received approval for earlier this year in February, which has a series of buildings, both existing and new. And I'd just like to point out the 3 existing buildings, which are the Manor House, which is an 18th century structure, as well as the Carriage House and Stone Barn. Those 3 of which really bring the character of this property to life. The property has significant topographical changes, has existing lakes and ponds, which we're looking to embellish and make sure that those remain. And then there are a series of new buildings, which are this string of accommodation here, which are a series of prefab and in situ built cabins, as well as a new gym building. And then we have a dedicated staff warehouse deliveries area with its own dedicated parking directly off of Route 9, as well as a dedicated arrivals experience for guests and members, also off of Route 9 and with its dedicated parking. This is the Manor House as it sits today, actually just a few weeks ago. For those of you on Instagram, you may have seen that we ran a members event introducing some of our New York City community to what this property could become. And ultimately, we're working towards this vision of what the Grassmere, especially the Manor House, can be brought back to life, and all of its historic details brought back to life as well. It's just a vision of one of the bedrooms inside the Manor House. It's a 3-story building, which had 12 bedrooms in its original form, which we're looking to bring back to life. And then this image is of the stone barn, which is on axis of this photo, as well as the adjacent carriage house, which is on the right side. Another image of the carriage house here. Amazing architectural character and stone pointing and, you know, kind of construction that you just don't see these days. And then an image of vision of how to, you know, reimagine the stone barn. This is actually on the back side of it, looking out towards the meadow where we've contemplated a new pool. And then the interior of the stone barn, the bones of which look much like this today. However, the property needs significant structural strengthening and stabilization, which is some work that we'd like to begin straight away. And then finally, we have a series of different kind of accommodations. This is one which we're exploring as a prefab module. I'll actually be touring a couple of New York-based prefab housing manufacturers and their factories in the next couple of weeks, which is, again, part of the economic activity that we hope to create by embarking on this project. And that's just an interior view of one of the prefab units. And then some of our other buildings, arrivals, you know, just to kind of give you a sense into our process and our design process, some of these are only still being designed, but rooted in a kind of agrarian and agricultural typology. So I'll end on this, and these figures are pulled from the application, and Dan and Sarah can speak more clearly to them. But in terms of construction jobs created over the 2 years or roughly 30-month build period, we estimate that that's 250 full-time equivalent created per year. So for a total of 500, and then the annual jobs, so permanent jobs that are created on the site to actually operate the property, and that's 2 years of full operations, is just above 400. Our initial capital investment, as is indicated by the application, is 200 million. And I'll just pause here and to say that we do have site plan approval for this site plan, which you've just been shown. But ultimately, this property also has a special use permit, which was granted in 2022 by the town as a country into designation, which allows up to 135 bedrooms. And that is you know, further phases in addition of those bedrooms is something that we are contemplating. However, this application is just focused on this site plan and the initial $200 million investment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the scheme or our company, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I think I'll run out a question first, and that is, could you explain how, if at all, this is different to a private resort? You have a small group of members, and it could on the surface be a private, as in sort of the Discovery Resorts version of private ownership. So, you know, I see the letter from Destination Duchess. Obviously, we're very interested in outside tourism, but if it's private, that's a different thing. Similarly, access of the regular public to the site and to the amenities, insofar as that affects our overall economic development in this part of the world.
Yeah, and I'll let, okay.
Yeah, sure. I was just going to say, so I think that's just a distinction about our membership. We have different kinds of memberships. The main membership that we focus on is either a local house or an every house member, where, you know, if you're a member of the Dumbo House, for example, in Brooklyn, and that's your local house, you belong to that house and only that house, and you can only access that house. Increasingly, just because we have a large population of members in New York, we encourage them to go to the every house member, which allows them to access any property throughout the world. Outside of those two, which is sort of our core focus, there is a separate membership called Soho Friends. And Soho Friends can be applied for, and relatively low bar to entry. I think it's $300 per year. And that gives you access to stay at the bedrooms. You don't become a full-time member. You can't access the houses unless you're staying in one of the bedrooms at the houses. But just to give you an example of, if you're a local resident of Dutchess County, you could become a Soho Friends member for a relatively low annual fee, and you could access this property.
Thank you. Questions?
Is it going to be in operation year round?
It will be in operation year round. I think we are still, Oxfordshire property definitely operates year round, and that has a much different climate than here. Obviously, it doesn't have a hard winter, but we do intend to operate year round. What our winter operation looks like, we're still trying to wrap our heads around. But yes, the intent is to welcome guests all year.
Thank you.
What would be the average cost? There's 135 hotel rooms, and Mullane from Destination Dutchess is in full support due to the obviously recouping of the hotel tax fee to the county as an incentive back to us. If I, as a layperson not belonging to any of the clubs, off the street needs a room for a wedding in Rhinebeck, how does this, walk me through the process as a club resort? Because when I heard about it in the media in New York City, it talked about Soho House getting approval to build a club in Rhinebeck, and that was the headline. So I listened to your presentation. I understand the different clubs, but how do I get a reservation at the 135 hotel rooms?
So you would apply via the Soho House website to become a Friends member, which you would be approved for almost instantly because you're not applying to be a full member. There's a much different vetting process to be a full member. So you would apply for that Friends membership, and then that would allow you access to the booking engine to any Soho House property, and say, if I want to stay at the house in Rome, I book my hotel stay through the website, and that's it. So, and would be similar here. So if you want to stay at the farmhouse,
Friends membership comes with a fee, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, I was just looking online, or I mean, so no matter what,
there's an annual fee.
It wasn't expensive, but it does restrict certain clientele from just booking a hotel for a wedding for a weekend, financially restricted because of the Friends fee.
I think the wedding example is also a good one. I mean, we operate many events in Oxfordshire where we open our doors to the public. If there is a big wedding and it's 200 people and that wedding buys out all the hotel rooms, then obviously anyone can have a room. Okay. So there's always exceptions to the rule.
And it said you're a public company listed on the New York Stock Exchange?
We were a public company up until January of this year, and now we've gone back private just recently.
Yes, so I delve a little deeper into that corporate structure, if you don't mind. Not that it's solely critical to this, but I think it's interesting to understand that this entity is focusing on Dutchess County for an investment. But could you speak to your parent companies, if you don't mind?
Sure.
International and
sure. I mean, so our Americas and European businesses have different holding companies for the property. Ultimately, our parent company is SHCO. It was on the New York Stock Exchange, and it remains the case now that we're private. And then under SHCO, we have a U.S. entity, which is called U.S. AcquireCo, which now owns this property, and also enters into leases for any of the other properties we have throughout the Americas. And then subordinate to that, we have the property specific company. So Grassmere LLC, which has been referenced on the application, is the owner of this piece of land, which is wholly owned by SHCO. And ultimately, we would create a separate operations company to run the property. And we're in the process of formalizing that now.
So you have no relationship with Posner International?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
I was specifically asking about the relationship with Posner International. Is it via your websites and so on? Not at all.
No. No. Yeah, we're privately owned by a series of independent shareholders,
Okay.
which is
My apologies. My research has led me up a path that it's not correct.
our main shareholder is the Ukaipa companies, which is based in Los Angeles. They're the primary shareholder.
You went private in January, right? January this year?
They're thereabouts, yes. I think we closed at the end of January. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, we procedurally, we welcome this kind of investment in restoring our historic buildings, but procedurally, there are some components that we would typically like to see prior to forging ahead. And one of them would be the Camoin report. I haven't seen that, so I know that's probably underway.
So from my understanding, Robin has already engaged Camoin on the reasonability study. We did submit, I think yesterday, our economic development impact report by CARP Strategies and to the IDA. The town of Rhinebeck took lead agency for the seeker, and that has been completed. And that it was also part of the application. The IDA was listed has been listed as an involved party from the beginning, so they have been receiving the updates. And town of Rhinebeck and the planning board had granted Soho House site plan approval as well as declared a neg deck on the project, and that was all included in the application. So yes, and I just don't know where the status of the Camoin report is, but
that's fine. And now from the tax components, the town of Rhinebeck is aware
that the town of Rhinebeck is aware that the project Soho House is applying to the IDA for benefits. And that is one of the reasons why we are applying for the standard 10-year pilot versus a deviated pilot. And also, as previously mentioned, we do have support from the community, including Destination Duchess on the project.
Very good. And so a little bit of detail on your timeline and then, the necessities for the need for speed.
Yeah, so there is a need for speed. So what we're hoping to receive this morning is approval to a preliminary approval, so we can go ahead and schedule the public hearing sometime in August. And then with the hope and intent to come back in September for the final approving resolution.
And how does that relate to the project on the ground?
So they would like to start construction.
Yes, construction as soon as we get the approval for the IDA.
Yeah.
Right, sorry, can you go back to the town of Rhinebeck approvals in terms of planning?
Yep, so they've received site plan approval as well as a neg deck on the site. So they're ready to go ahead. They just need the IDA's assistance so that they can secure their financing.
So they have the full building permit, et cetera.
Yeah.
It only requires site plan approval.
Yeah.
How long were they in front of the planning board?
They have been in front of the planning board for over 10 years.
They did an FEIS, so.
And then when was this application submitted to the IDA?
The application was submitted to the IDA just last week. They got final site plan approval just a few months ago. Yes. Yeah.
It went to court, right?
Yeah.
What did you say? FS?
FEIS.
Environmental.
Yeah, they had to do.
Environmental impact statement. It means they got a positive deck on their seeker review.
But I read like in the local papers that it was a 10-year. The history.
The history is 10 years. So yeah. So it
Is there a summary on the history? Just curious at this point.
It wouldn't be the most interesting history.
Okay.
I think I may have sent to you with the negative Well, the finding statement.
Yes.
And so I think best to answer your question, like we can give you the finding statement, you can read the finding statement. So it's a few hundred pages long.
Some of you may not know, but they applied in 2014. Grassmere came before the IDA.
Oh.
We started looking at it and then they had their issues. So we actually did a little bit of work back then.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they were granted preliminary approval back then, but did not proceed because of all these other issues that came up. So since then, they have also, Soho House has acquired the property, so they are now the owners of the property, as opposed to back then it was Grassmere and it was a local developer that had owned it. So they're really ready to go ahead. They're just waiting for the IDA's decision on whether they could proceed or not. So they would like, they are looking for, hopefully, if all things go right, a final approving resolution in September.
Right. So, and I know that, some of that, the thought process was guided by, sort of a hole in our calendar, but we have already been discussing having a meeting sooner. So let's keep that as part of this discussion. We, having just received this, and I know that your project's been going a long time, and we're certainly I'm being aware of it in the background, but we have already, had these similar discussions in this meeting today about
Many times. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't feel like we would be holding you up to be able to do our due diligence on this side and come back to it. Very much appreciate having the presentation. And I think we can speedily, keep up with it. So any questions on that position? No.
I just had one more question. It said you're seeking mortgage tax exemption, but then it said there's private investment, private capital. Can you explain the difference between 200 million in private capital, right?
No. The project is a total of 200 million.
In private capital. But then you have.
Look at no.
$120 million mortgage.
No.
No.
Yeah, I don't think
That's not-
private.
That's not what we're
The
saying.
total, the total project cost is 200 million, including the acquisition, and that would then be split between a mix of private capital and construction financing.
Yeah,
It's not all private.
it's 120,000, 120.
No, I see that, but then it says 199 in private capital. I'm just making sure that under community benefits.
Yeah, it's 199 total project cost, of which 120 is.
No, I understand that, but it says private capital.
So that's not.
And I pulled up the application and it is listed in there correctly.
But just under community benefits. That's all.
So motion to table. This until our next meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Yes, and take the roll.
Yes.
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 Amy Bonadiri, Bruce Arthur.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate this. I think we can keep track with you and this project rolling up the great years.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Saying control resolution in September. Only a deal.
I'll talk to you later.
Sarah, you have.
I have another project, yes.
You're out on this one, right, Amy?
Talk to me.
I think it's O'Neill.
Okay.
Yeah, which is.
Are we doing anything after that?
Yeah.
I know we,
Two more.
Two more.
So, yeah,
sorry.
which
Two more should be.
yeah, I appreciate it if you can
Okay.
hold on.
I have nothing else to do today. So.
You know, right?
Can you make it quick, please?
Yeah. We'll talk. Lawrence doing all talk.
Hi, thank you so much.
We've got Lauren O'Neill.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes.
hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
If you wouldn't mind, I am going to share my screen. Hopefully I do it right. I'm not great at it. Okay. Can you guys see that?
Not yet.
Not
Now
yet.
we can.
How about now?
Yes,
Fine.
you can. Yeah,
Yeah.
Does it have notes on the side or it's just the
it does.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I want that.
Do the presentation.
Um,
If you go to view presentation mode.
sorry. Okay.
Yep.
Just this. Sorry, there we go.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. So good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren O'Neill. I have been in front of this board before, and I recognize some members and some of the staff. We previously had the North Cross project in Hyde Park. That's been successful thus far. It's 50 townhomes, as well as the third phase of One Duchess in Poughkeepsie. That's in the town of Poughkeepsie. And that has been very successful as well, including the incubator office space that is there. So for those who do not know me, my name is Lauren O'Neill. I'd just like to thank, the chairman and all the members of the board for including us on this morning's agenda. Today, I am here on behalf of Elbow Creek LLC, which is the applicant for the Crofton Muse project in the town of Hyde Park. Sarah Lee of the Hudson Valley Economic Development Corporation is with you in the room this morning. I am joining remotely, obviously, and I'm going to try to keep my remarks brief so that we leave room and time for all the board's questions. I know you guys have a heavy agenda. So first, the project is the Crofton Muse. It has been a long conceptual, but now almost shovel-ready project to go, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But so it's 249 residential units. 248 are high-class workforce rentals, and then one is the super unit. This is a large vacant site. The entire site is 87 acres, but the project site is 55. The goal is for 64 two-story carriage style buildings, and the new construction of 310,618 square feet includes a 3,150 square foot daycare. It's a ground up construction of a cohesive residential campus. It has self-sufficient infrastructure, which is honestly one of the main reasons why we're in the position we're in today. It has centralized on-site water, wastewater treatment, water main extensions. And then the goal of this project would be to serve young professionals, workforce renters, and downsizing empty nesters, which, options for them are not available in today's housing stock. So the project is fully entitled. It has a special use permit granted, SECRA is complete, and over the term of the project, there has been some unit density reduction, which I'll talk about shortly. For those who are not familiar with our company, I am Lauren O'Neill. I'm the second generation of the O'Neill Group. We're a family-owned, woman-led real estate development and construction company. Well, we're the development company. One Key is the affiliate construction company, though they're not operating much these days. We're typically going outside for GC work. We have more than 30 years developing and building and owning and managing residential and mixed-use communities across the tri-state area. Something that's a little bit different with us is that we are full project life cycle. So we go from purchasing raw land typically to getting the approvals, going through the design phase, overseeing that GC. Then we hold and manage. So we're not the kind of developers coming in looking to flip flip out units. So we hire within the local market for the property management and maintenance staff. At our other projects, I believe the operating projects, the ones that are listed here, I believe every single employee at those projects is a Dutchess County resident. So that's important to us. We like to integrate into the local community as opposed to, trying to stick a round peg in a square hole, or square peg in a round hole. And then just recently, we actually had another project so the previous projects that I've had in front of the Dutchess County and City of Poughkeepsie IDAs did not receive pilots, but they did receive mortgage and sales tax. We recently had Gateway Commons, which is in Highland, induced by the Ulster County, and a pilot was granted there. So a little bit of the project history, because I think it's important to, emphasize this isn't a paper project. So it's received all municipal and state approvals. It's fully entitled. And I did mention on my application that there were some improvements in place, and I know it's important to address that at this point. We did not put those improvements in place. So there was a prior developer who had an original approved plan that was substantially similar to the plan in front of you today, though it had, I believe, 86 additional units. But the project had to be scaled back for different reasons, including, ecological and environmental changes to the neighborhood. But so they had originally, after we purchased it, but so they had started the project, they had started implementing and constructing the different water mains infrastructure, and the project then became financially unfeasible. And that is then when we acquired it after it failed from the bank. So we acquired the site in 2010, and we have spent the last almost 10 years, I guess 8 years specifically, a little over 8, re-engineering, planning, and doing full environmental reviews. And we've just gotten to the point where, we're ready to begin once we close this last funding gap. There's a 68 unit reduction. So for the last 8 years, we've done a mix of value engineering, environmental re-engineering, and the site itself has extraordinary site readiness costs. It needs a lot of infrastructure to build this housing. Treatment plants, water mains, a bridge, road widening, habitat mitigation, and all of that will be first dollars in, because you can't build the rest of the units without that. So the project has sat vacant, and unless and until we fill this last gap, it will continue to sit vacant. So the housing, I relied on, and this, I guess, is our market study, is the 2023 housing needs assessment. There's a lot of need for housing. So we're seeing it ourselves, those 50 townhouses in North Cross that the Dutchess County IDA previously induced and supported, leased up at, crazy rates. So like, we stabilized that so quickly. There's just such a lack of that kind of housing stock. Another important element is, so we do have a daycare plan. We have already, I didn't put, and you'll notice in my application, I have not included any jobs allocated to the daycare. I have not included any, specifics of the daycare, because I don't want to commit to something for someone else. However, we do have an interested operator, and we have been in conversation with her. Sorry, I want to pull up. She is about to execute a letter of intent. We would imagine that the space, on a conservative basis, could hold 40. So it's Tiny Dreamers Daycare, without, after office space, admin space, and hallways, based on the usable square footage. On the low end, we would be talking 40 children, which is so important, because right now, especially around Hyde Park, the state has designated different, like, childcare deserts. And there's allegedly approximately 3.7 children per one space under the age of 6. So, we're excited to contribute that to this community. And again, while it's a lot of public infrastructure, all of that infrastructure is required to be privately funded, including the new bridges. And then most importantly, and I think a huge effect on it is that we have allocated 23.5 acres as a resource protection area in coordination with New York State DEC. 9.5 acres of that are a created turtle nesting habitat. We're actually paying for the monitoring on an annual basis for the DEC is doing studies on these rare and endangered turtles in this area. So we are contributing that. And again, the property it's large. It's 88 acres altogether. Vacant, it's only paying approximately 6,500 in property taxes today. So the first year, even under the standard pilot schedule in the DCIDA's UTEP is a 78 times, almost 80 times increase in taxes. So this is just a quick, or some renderings. I'm really proud. I don't know if you guys go back and look at the renderings we submitted for North Cross, I actually can't tell the difference between the renderings and some of the pictures. So, I really do feel good about the fact that we typically execute on the vision, and I mean, I think this is a nice project. These are the projected rents. And then again, the 3,100 square foot licensed daycare. And then, so this is the investment numbers that you're looking at. So I do want to note, in order to mitigate the extensive costs, we would do rolling occupancy. So these are carriage houses. They're typically 8 units or 4 and 4 unit buildings. So we would try to do rolling occupancy, to first, because we don't want to absorb 348 units into the market all at once. And second, to, mitigate interest charges and ongoing costs and try to make the project as self-sufficient as possible. However, it is an expensive project. It's an $82 million project with $10 million of that being the related infrastructure work. And so this is the DCIDA assistance package that we are requesting and submitted. Happy to answer any questions about how we got to any of these numbers. And then, of course, again, local workforce is something we're really proud of, not just for our permanent jobs, but also for our construction side. I know it's an 80% requirement, but we actually, even without that requirement, we easily hit that. We work locally. We don't bring a project team from outside the area. We've been pretty successful in Dutchess County and the Hudson Valley, and we've built really great relationships. It's really, although I'm based out of New Jersey, it really is our home base. Again, 90 to 110, I think that's a conservative estimate of construction jobs, but I get too concerned I would never want to overestimate. And then the project is designed to meet or exceed all the New York State Energy Code and CPACE thresholds regarding efficiency, HVAC, LED lighting, and Energy Star appliances. It's actually crazy how much less water our units use than what DCWWA sees as the average household. I'm really proud of that as well. So that is all from me for now. I'm open to any questions, any discussion, and then I guess, respectfully, I would just like guidance on, next steps. I don't know if the study's been ordered. I know that a letter of support is required as part of the pilot. We have received verbal indication from the town supervisor that will be provided and that, the town is supportive. However, I don't have the signed version available yet. And then Sarah, I don't know if I missed anything. You've been monitoring my progress on this.
So, yeah, no, so they have all their entitlements similar to Soho House. They have support of the town of Hyde Park. We're just awaiting a letter from the town, a formal letter from the town, from the town supervisor. But again, as Lauren's indicated, he has already indicated verbally that he will be sending in a letter.
School district.
School district, yes.
And they will produce a.
Yeah, so we're working with the school district now on securing a letter, so that will be submitted as well.
Is the school district requiring any other benefits?
Given that it's Hyde Park.
Yeah, it's Hyde Park, yeah. So they haven't indicated yet. They're just reviewing the pilot right now. So.
Okay. This is a question that sort of goes into this type of application, particularly with a standard 10-year pilot. And that is, at the end of the pilot, what does that next time look like? Is there a possibility that we're looking at a property that receives the tax benefits and then turns over and becomes a private for sale, individual ownership property? It doesn't look, the formulation of the buildings don't look that way, but I'd just like a discussion on that.
Yeah, and Lauren can talk about
and Mark,
that.
we dealt with this on our last project, actually, Chairman Doyle, and it actually created a logistical mess, but because we erased lot lines and we had to put them back together because Hyde Park wanted them there, but we haven't sold those, if it helps. I know that was one of your biggest concerns, and technically we're outside the window when we could have. It's just not our model, but these also aren't conducive to, it would be a much more complicated home ownership association structure. You would have to go through, because the difference is for a project like the townhomes at North Cross, like that's a CPS 7 because there's minor public improvements that are shared infrastructure that would need to be handled by the HOA. A project like this, like we would have had to start applying years ago to the AG's office to get something like this approved as a for sale.
So like Lauren said, the design is not conducive and nor is the financial model. O'Neill Group, they don't build, for sale. They usually build, for commercial rentals, and they retain that.
And stay in that business, and that's a wonderful track record. But since we're, an organization and doing this kind of business, this is a question that comes up for me, and I just wanted to put it on the table. Is we're looking at public benefits and.
I would say that this is more like housing related, not anything related to this project. So I don't want to confuse it, but the Hudson Valley as a whole and Dutchess County is in, housing is in demand at all levels, whether it is single family homes to apartments and to affordable. So, there is, there could be also a benefit that after, so many years of being a rental property to converting to home ownership to allow, some decompression of that side of the market. So.
No, we understand the entire stuff that is pertinent to that. Good. So
I have one thing. So I haven't been on this board for maybe a year, and this is my first time working with or coming across the O'Neill Group since, and you mentioned One Dutchess here. One Dutchess, One Key, and I immediately think of what the tragedy that happened there. I just want to know, have there been steps taken? Have there been, what's your safety record been since that time? And what steps have you taken to assure Dutchess County residents that we're not putting them in danger by supporting a project like this?
Yeah, of course. Okay. So obviously, for those who may not be aware, at the One Dutchess site, there was a fatality, a traumatic accident where a temporary retaining wall made of concrete block fell after work hours, and a subcontractor's employee unfortunately passed away. As you all may or not be aware, there was lots of subsequent proceedings. However, unrelated to those subsequent proceedings, we did go and hire a almost full-time site safety, but he's a third party, independent, OSHA certified site safety inspector who does random site checks. So our teams don't know when he's coming, and we get safety reports from that. 5 years after the accident, so the accident will be 10 years ago next year. 5 years after the accident, we did, there was a criminal trial. Both the company and the director of operations, Finn O'Neill, received Class B misdemeanor charges of failure to follow a safety regulation. And we have completed, that included, so the sentence related to that included large fines as well as a probationary period of reporting directly to OSHA. We just completed that with no incident. So as you know, unfortunate as the accident was, we've been, you know, we learned from it. We changed our model. We made sure that, you know, we're not just taking our site supers' words for it, that the sites are safe. We have third-party checks implemented. And we have a very expensive fine schedule, training schedule. No one is allowed on the site without an OSHA 10 card. We've really increased all of those safeguards. We actually have it sounds so silly. We have we have to get insurance, right? So we have a lot of insurance. And we have, millions of dollars of projects in any phase of construction at one time. We actually have a really low loss runs rate. So when you look at the amount of construction done, the amount of, damage, lawsuits, injury is statistically very small. But none of that does anything to take away from the severity of what happened. And it's not something that we shy away from talking about. If the IDA wanted to speak with Rob Serino, the third party inspector, I'm more than happy to set that up. Additionally, as is typical, we will enter into an indemnity with the agency. I mean, the city of Poughkeepsie IDA was in place. That was not the Dutchess County. That was on the first two phases, in place at the time of that accident. And, if people are concerned about compliance or fiscal risk, that's not obviously an issue. That the city of Poughkeepsie IDA had no role in any following proceedings.
Thank you. Right.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think in the previous Hyde Park project you did, there was some workforce housing, correct?
No.
No, I thought we had dedicated
No.
2 units for police or.
No,
No?
we did not.
So why
But-
not? Okay.
Why not? Is that something you'd like to propose? I mean, I'm open to discussing. Obviously, I have to run it back and look at the financial models. Sarah, I don't know if you.
The other one was, they were going to, so they were that, North Cross, so North Cross originally came across as an affordable project. And they were going to be asking for a pilot, but they had so much, resistance from the town of Hyde Park that they decided in order to make it work, it had to be market rate.
Yeah, I just thought there was 10% allocated for workforce for police. That's stuck in my head.
But yeah, but that was,
But we do need some workforce in even affordable units,
Yeah.
so.
I don't know if this was in the documents, but something that we did do with North Cross, I know we did with our project in Suffern, is we provide a first responders discount, rental discount of some sort. I would definitely be open to implementing that here as well.
Very good.
It could be a public service discount as well, teachers, whatever makes sense. I'm happy to discuss that further.
It might be, this is extending beyond this exact application, but it might be, Robin, an idea to engage in a discussion with this O'Neill group as to what incentives might work to encourage you to provide affordable housing within your model. We're currently working on policy to do just that. And so that kind of feedback might actually really be useful
Yeah, I'm more than
to
happy.
creating that
engage on
policy. All right.
The last applicant, we also talked about number of students affecting the school district or would be attending. I mean, this is a lot more units,
Yes.
249 with 63 bedroom units, so.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
North Cross project has 180 bedrooms. They're all, 150 bedrooms. They're all 3 bedrooms, and we have 30 school-age children. So doing a similar structure, and also based on the Rutgers study, which is kind of the prevailing projections for school-age children, we expect about 65 children from this project.
So timetable, let's
So,
have that discussion.
yeah, so they, again, was hoping for, to proceed with the scheduling of a.
Long as possible, just like all our applicants, take your time.
Exactly, they're a few years away.
That's right.
So they would like to begin construction as soon as possible. So, hoping to receive a final authorizing resolution in September.
Yes.
So that they can begin construction at the end of September, later that month.
Right. And then, do you expect any kind of holdouts on the town board side of things? Would we be able to see that by the end of the month?
Yeah, so we expect a letter before the end of the week. I spoke with the town supervisor again yesterday. And so we'll have a letter submitted from the town shortly.
Right.
The school district will just be a little bit, but we anticipate that will be we originally anticipated that letter would be submitted before the public hearing.
Very good.
It's good, yeah.
Des Moines report is
Oh, they're all in.
in the same sort of time frame.
Right.
Okay. So by tabling it and coming back to you, we're not gonna throw your project massively off the program by the sound of things, so we'll
Make a motion to table this until the reports in the next meeting.
Second.
thank you.
Krista Campbell,
Yes.
Dan Facone,
Yes.
Tom McCount,
Yes.
Mark Dole.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you
you all
very
very
much.
much.
That's excellent.
I'll
Good
see.
progress. I'm looking forward to hearing about the turtles. Oh, I can't hear you, but yes. Can I get that here?
You can, just leave it back.
Okay.
The next one is in July. If we want to just take a few
short break,
minutes
yeah.
to stretch and bio or,
Whatever. Yeah.
Kate, how are you today? As you know, we've had a really extensive, agenda for today. So we're just gonna take a short break, a few minutes, stretch, bio, and then we'll come back.
Absolutely, take your time.
All right, thank you.
Welcome
Good
to our
morning.
IDA meeting.
Band.
Kate, you're
What?
started scripturing. Very good. We are familiar with the project, but go ahead and present the
Sure,
updates to us. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If everybody is relatively familiar with the project, then I don't need to go into extensive detail. I'll just give a brief overview of where we left things off with the IDA and what we're requesting today. So I think, as you all know, back in November of 2024, we received final approval from the IDA for mortgage recording tax exemption, sales tax exemption, and a deviated 15-year pilot that we received letters from both the school district and the town approving. So since we were before your board, we went in for a site plan amendment from the town of Hyde Park. The central subject of that amendment was to add this northern area of the project that I'm highlighting on my screen. I hope you can see. We added some sports courts and then We moved our parking from over here, it was stacked parking before, to a parking lot that, was more favorable to the town. They didn't love the stacked parking, as well as some retail buildings on the former Coco's site. I'll just show you the renderings of that specific area because the town was, thrilled with us adding Coco's. It's been sort of an eyesore and they're, happy with what we are proposing there. So the reason we are back before you is as a result of those site plan amendments, it obviously increased our project costs. So we're looking for an increase to the previously approved mortgage recording tax exemption and sales tax exemptions. In turn, as a result of the increased project costs, we've added a number of full-time employees from 170 previously to 204, and our construction jobs also increased from 450 to 550. We do not propose any changes to the deviated pilot that was previously approved. And I think the only other request in our application was just because of the scale of this project, if the IDA would be willing to allow us to split the fees associated with this project. I'm happy to go into more detail if you'd like. I know you guys have had a long meeting and you're familiar with the project, so I don't want to keep you longer than we need, but happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. So, Don,
I just want to make it really I'm sorry, we had a public hearing yesterday on this, and there was one person who came objected. You got a copy of the transcript and probably received
2 letters in opposition.
okay, and that's been shared.
And those have been shared.
And don't forget the individual who wants tennis.
Yes.
Yes.
They also came to the public hearing to suggest tennis courts instead of pickle.
I think he was supporting the project.
Yes.
As long as they get the
very good. So,
Public comment is public comment.
Right.
so the background to the increase in costs is the alliance that you now have, NRI has with the management company, and this is where I was making a mistake earlier. Sorry about that. So could you speak to that management arrangement and what it means to us here,
Sure.
IDA and Dutchess County Tourism?
Absolutely. So when we first came before the IDA board and the planning board, we did not have, a specific hotel brand. We knew what we were developing, but there was no brand yet. Since coming before your board and from our original planning board approvals, we've selected One and Only, and I heard you mention, the Kersner Group
Yes,
in the Soho House presentation. And so, yes, One and Only is owned by the Kersner Group, and Kersner is now our minority JV partner. NRI owns, the majority interest in this project. Kersner owns a minority, and they will be the operator of the hotel resort. Does that answer the question?
So yes, sorry, I make sure we heard that correctly. That so the operating group actually owns a minority share in the real estate. Is that how I'm understanding?
The real estate is technically, I just want to clarify, the real estate is technically owned by the CIA, right? This is CIA-owned property, and the JV entity is the ground lease tenant. The JV entity is comprised of a majority of NRI, and then a minority ownership of Kersner Group, which is, the one and only resort operator.
Understood. And so that alliance has, with their request, been to increase the investments and change the formulation of the property or of the offering somewhat.
Yeah, I would say the programming from the original to the current is very, very similar. You know, as part of the amendment, they wanted us to do, they meaning the one and only brand wanted us to do a few specific things, right? They really wanted us to move the spa from, sort of closer to the FDR site. If you know the site well, the northern property borders the FDR site. The spa was previously there. They wanted us to move the spa to where the event barn was. So just, swap places, tweak some of the square footages of the amenity buildings. And then, the addition of the Coco's piece of this site was a combination of, something Kersner wanted because the Coco site is really, really an eyesore, to the resort and also the town. But the town has been asking us from the very beginning to make that part of the project. So that piece, I guess, was a combination of, continued requests from the town as well as having one and only become involved.
Very good.
So the Cocos, the renderings that you showed us, the 1, 2, 3, 4, that's all on Route 9G, correct?
Yes.
And those are retail?
Yeah,
That's Route 9.
Route 9.
I mean, Route 9, I'm sorry.
Route 9, I'm sorry. Yes. So preliminarily, that front area is going to be, and let me pull it back up. I can,
So that was Route 9, the road front. So there will be jobs and retail,
yes.
correct? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, this, okay, so let me go back.
Like rendering 3, is that?
Yeah, so let me just show you, I can zoom in here a little bit better, and then I can go back to the renderings if you'd like, but it's just, the description of the building is just a bit easier. So this is this square box that you see here. This is the current Coco site. So this building up front is going to be that's the rendering 3 you saw. That's a retail building. Back here, this is going to be a back of house building, which will, for the hotel and resort will just, deliveries will come there. And then there's, back of house operations, offices operating out of there. And then over here actually is a set of teaching kitchens within this building. And the teaching kitchens, there's going to be combined programming between the CIA and the hotel resort for not only students, but guests to utilize for different demonstrations, teaching demonstrations.
And what is that parking lot for? Is that employee parking or what is that?
The parking lot is a combination of employee parking, and then I think this has not changed from the previous iteration of the project, but the parking was previously somewhere over here. It was like stacked parking that was for employee parking, and then also valet parking for the site. So and for those not familiar with the first go around, the goal of the site is to have as few cars driving around as possible. So once a guest arrives at the hotel, they're going to bring their car back here to the check-in area. And then there's going to be a valet driver who essentially comes and parks their car in the valet lot until they're ready to leave. And then the site is equipped with, as you can see, walking trails, sidewalks along the roads for the guests to use. There will be bikes that are available. And then the resort will also have, golf cart type cars to bring guests if they wanted to, for instance, go up and use the sport courts, but they're staying all the way back here. It's really just the parking was previously here and it's been swapped to over here.
One thing I wanted to mention, just because the retail component of this was raised, is that wouldn't change from the prior finding that was made. So at the time the agency approved this, we made a finding that because there's retail and IDAs typically aren't permitted to do retail unless there's an exception that applies. There was a third-party analysis done that the IDA received and reviewed to make the finding that it's considered a tourism destination and therefore an exception to the retail, the retail restriction.
That's good. Go ahead.
Is that new retail also is that new retail consistent with that though? Is the Route 9?
Well, the finding is for the overall project, and my point was, regardless, there's retail even if there's more added, and it doesn't change the overall nature of the project remains the same. So that the the retail exception would apply.
I understand.
Still.
So the new building, the Coco's, what's currently the Coco's building, what's gonna happen at that building? What kind of operations are gonna occur in that building that's on 9G, fronting 9G?
Yeah, in
Nine.
this building right here.
I
So,
said-
I mean, we,
Well, the other one was 9G.
Sorry.
on nine, I get what you're asking. So
Refer to it as
I don't think that there are currently any like retail tenants that have been selected for this building, but I think the anticipation would be, you know, sort of accessory retail operations to the hotel, maybe some sort of, you know, liquor or drink store. There might be a New York, I've heard, you know, like a New York store like focused on, you know, different New York tourism type goods, but there has not been a retail operator selected for this building.
Okay, so that building is envisioned as having multiple retail tenants based on what the market can, it's not restricted to hotel guests, it's for the public. And the parking for that would be
The parking
behind
for
it?
that is right here. It's kind of separate from the rest of the resort.
Right.
That
Okay.
way, if members of the public did want to come, they don't need, you know, this is valet parking solely. But if, yeah, members of the public did want to come to the retail, they could utilize this parking. And yes, the retail, again, has not been, tenants have not been selected, but,
Right.
you know, it's going, and it will be open to the public, but I do think like the focus will be, you know, things that are accessory and, you know, anticipated to be utilized by guests of the hotel as well.
Okay, so that leads me to the question about that finding, right? Because that finding, I assume that I wasn't here for the initial project, so you guys can answer this question. Let me ask it first. Is that the finding was based on the retail that was projected on the original project, any retail that there might be in, presumably in the shops or in the hotel or in the reception areas or whatever. This is now a public thing on the thing. Does that finding still apply and should it?
So the finding, the way the project was described before, I believe there already was a portion of retail shops included, but also just hotel guest services is covered under that retail component. So the fact that this is a hotel and hospitality site and also had retail shops, all of that was considered to be retail under the general municipal law.
Yeah.
And the fact that there might be just a couple additional retail stores doesn't change the overall findings.
And the overall zoning here is the tourism was the factor. So when they approved this project, the zoning determination was made that these people can't stay there for more than 90 days. They have to make them available to the public. So this particular site is as a whole determined by the town board to be tourism. It's based upon that. And that's really they have their own designation, zoning designation that says it's for tourism.
Right.
And that includes the entire site.
Right. So just correct me if, so just again, coming to the project new, to you know, within reason. So there was a third party who was engaged to determine whether it made sense to have that be of retail, that the retail was, I guess, within the scope of, and have the finding for this to happen, for the IDA thing to happen.
The third party was engaged to determine whether this site was considered a tourism destination. And my point is, the site overall remains a tourism destination because the nature of it hasn't changed so significantly that you couldn't still apply that finding.
So was there in their work, was there like a threshold that like X amount of retail, you know, public retail would have, you know, flipped that finding? And you know, obviously this is a very small addition, but I just want to make sure that we're not in any kind of
I mean, I would have to pull up the specific report, but my recollection of it was just describing the nature of the resort and the fact that this was a hospitality site designed to draw in visitors from outside the area to the area.
Right.
Yes, that is
So I
so.
don't want to be expanding an incentive in order to let people have retail tenants and, in retail off, to create new retail, specifically, you know what I mean? Because that's not what we're supposed to be doing.
But
If it's part incidental and it's allowed, then that's a whole different story.
Actually, this finding and the involvement of tourism and the third party organization, if I think I'm putting these pieces together correctly, is that generally the hotel business as a whole is found to be retail business. So if you go to these hotels up and down Route 9 here, those are, and we've turned down applications in the past on that basis that they are retail operations. Those that we have put through, this being one of them, and then the one across the street, are based on an exception that through a finding such as this, that they in themselves are a tourism draw of new tourists to the region. They're not just simply housing tourists who would have come here anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, and in this case, I think you have the fact that the zoning specifically refers to it as tourism, for tourism, and the town itself was urging that the existing building be taken down and that this retail component be added as part of it. And so the town is making the determination that it is part of the tourism complex.
Specifically this.
Because there is an event space at, the Pinnacle, there is a whole event space, as well as the hotel and the houses.
So while we're going down this line, you have a lot of villas, and there seemed like in the earlier version, there was a distinction between the form of use and ownership of the hotel and the villas. And so could you speak to the ownership of the villas so that we understand whether or not they are essentially privately owned, and if they're leased, what's the term of the lease, etc.?
Yeah, so the leasehold, nothing has changed with respect to your previous approval on the ownership of the leasehold villas. But yes, the leasehold villas will be, when we say privately owned, I just want to clarify a little bit that nothing here is owned. It's all ground leased, right? Because the CIA owns the property. So CIA owns the property. NRI, just JV entity, is the ground tenant of the property. And then the individual leasehold owners will be subleasing their individual lots from NRI as the ground lease tenant. That being said, we've explicitly excluded the individual leasehold lots from the IDA's approval. And we don't propose any change to that. We're not asking for them to be included at this point. Those were explicitly accepted last time, and they will continue to be accepted from your benefits this time.
Thank you.
But those units will be for rent going into the hotel tax pool.
Yeah,
It's
in
a
addition to them
combination.
being privately owned, yes, there's a requirement that, that
90 days.
that nobody can live essentially in these, and that they'll be offered into a rental program for the hotel to utilize for guests.
There was also discussion I remember having on the utilization of the sort of overall funding and the separation of benefits with regard to the infrastructure, of developing the site. And I think the decision was that there was no way to divide it up. Correct?
Yes, you are right about that. I can clarify. Yes, while the individual leasehold villa lots, the construction and the mortgage and the taxes related to each lot are not included in what we've asked for from the IDA, the infrastructure associated with the entire site is included in the costs requested from the IDA. And the reason for that is because the infrastructure costs, even the ones, sort of leading to the villa, I mean, it's a fully integrated site, so it's hard to separate out those costs, but also NRI, the entity, will be constructing those utilities for the entire site. So it was a little bit impossible to separate out, various parts of the infrastructure costs that might only be related to the villa, but, really are utilized by the entire site.
Very good.
Right, so, I have more questions. For the board, not even necessarily. So in the prior approval, for those who were here, was there reasoning that you can share with me that made this different than just a regular hotel, aside from the zoning, which the town, has zoned it tourism? What was the thing that made this a tourism addition versus simply a destination for people to come and enjoy the tourism nearby? Was there some sort of, what was the, as opposed to like these other hotels or other things that have been turned away, how does that comparison work?
Our practice,
as a new member,
our practice has been to approach Destination Duchess, as they are now, Duchess Tourism, and ask them that specific question and have them report back to us. So I would hope that there would be on file that record from that time.
So what we have cited, I have the prior resolution pulled up where it's talks about the unique nature of the facility as a culinary and wellness destination resort. And it cites the LW Hospitality Advisors report, which goes through and talks about the types of lodging facilities in the county and what is available and what the need for more of those is. And I think in this case, I think for both this and the Belfield project, it was the fact that it wasn't just hotel rooms to stay, but it was also including those culinary components and potentially like agritourism components and more of a resort site rather than just a.
So the tie into the CIA is, and the CIA being a draw, and then connecting to that and those pieces. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
There's a convention space, correct? Right, Liz? No, isn't there something next to the hotel? A site was going to be down by the river? I mean, it'd be helpful of the original site plan.
I don't know if that was for this one or if you're mixing that up.
No, I thought there was something.
I can show you what I think you might be referring to.
That main big building down at the bottom. No.
Right here, previously, we had proposed an event barn. And now this area is the spa and the event barn is proposed to be located over here. The event barn, can host, anything from corporate events, weddings, an open event space for public to, utilize, rent out. Is that what you're referring to? It was previously.
And the other large building is the hotel, right? To the right?
And the spa.
To the north?
No, this building is called the Hearth Building and it has hotel programming in it, but the actual traditional hotel building that would typically see is going to be this building right here. The Hearth Building is where the lobby is. There's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's some like small shops, etc.
Yeah, and usually they project what percentage of the people are going to be using it from locally or outside the area. And that's really the determining factor. And the projection here is clearly that these people are going to come from a distance, so they are tourists.
So, I mean, most hotel rooms I would think are for people outside, so most hotels probably qualify under that, but the culinary aspect, I think, is satisfying my questions.
Well, it's the attraction portion.
Yes, I understand.
In net. So we have some participation on the public side to public hearing. In terms of the town, where do we stand with town sign off on, because it's obviously now we're talking about changing the pilot.
Right, well, so the what was proposed for the pilot and what was approved for the pilot is not changing.
Right, the pilot's not.
But yeah, so the pilot schedule will remain the same, and actually the additions of the Coco's lot with that lot line adjustment and increases the base assessed value. So they'll be paying 100% tax on that base assessed value, which is now a higher amount because it includes the Coco's lot for a lot that's otherwise off the tax rolls because it's owned by the culinary.
Mhm.
So there's no change to the pilot schedule and therefore no further town approvals that would be required. It's just the increase to the sales and mortgage recording taxes.
Right.
And the total investment was what? The original project, wasn't it 450, was it, or 250?
The base assessed value?
No, the the whole cost of the project.
Yeah, I can tell you. The whole cost of the project previously was 254,600,000. I'll rough it off there. And
Right.
then now 364,792,000 ish. So almost, $100 million increase.
Big increase.
Yeah, no.
And that increase is not so much attributed to the number of buildings, but the investment in each building, or where is it going?
Yeah. Well, partially the number of buildings, because remember the Coco's portion, that whole area wasn't part of the original project. So that definitely adds a significant amount of cost. But yes, then the involvement of one and only, did, change costs to existing proposed buildings. I think the cost of the spa obviously increased because that building, got bolstered a lot during the process. I would say a mix of Coco's and then, just, making the existing buildings enhanced.
Good.
And no construction has begun yet?
The construction that has begun is, we've done the DOT right-of-way work. And I think that there's been some tree clearing, just, there's a limited window that we're allowed to tree clear. But there's been no other vertical construction yet.
Good. So in terms of pieces that are where we are on our schedule, pieces that are needed, take it that we have not commissioned a combined report on this edition, or what have you done?
No, not on that side, not.
Do we need one?
I don't think we
I don't think so either. I mean, they're upping their game to the brand of one and only. So, ultimately the county is going to receive the hotel tax to give them the immediate benefits on the sales tax exemption. So, I mean, I'll be happy to make a motion to increase the sales tax and mortgage exemption for this project.
Let me just ask Don a second before I ask for a second. There are no other legal requirements that you are aware of besides the. Fine, thank you, Jamie. So do we have a second then?
A second.
For that? Any other discussion?
Do you mind if I ask just a clarifying point? We did include a request in our letter about splitting up the fee, which is obviously fairly significant for a project of this size. I don't know if that needs to be incorporated in your resolution or if you can do that without resolution. I just want to raise that as something to include if you need.
They want to waive the additional fee, correct?
Not waive the fee, just split it.
Split.
Yeah.
That's the
And
same
the
as
two
the other
payments,
ones. That's
yeah.
fine.
Go ahead.
We have a precedent with the payment schedule on T-Rex and.
Right, yeah, so I mean, in the past, I think what has been done is on like the administrative level, that's been something that the executive director has made the decision on, but certainly it's good for the board to be aware of, and if Robin wants the board to approve it, but I don't know that it's absolutely necessary for it to be approved by the board.
You good with it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we've done it before.
as long as we get
As long as we get
the money.
right, as long as.
Not to be.
What's the time frame for actually starting, or what is the first building to be constructed, I guess, with the hotel, the wellness center, the barn, the retail?
So I'm just trying to think of the phasing plan, and Lou Dorso from NRI is here. I don't know if he's able to join, but if he's able to unmute, but I believe that they're working on one of the villas, which they have a temporary sales trailer on the CIA's campus. And I believe that they're going to be constructing one of the leasehold villas first so that they can, not leasehold villas, sorry, I think it's one of the hotel rental villas they'll be constructing so that they can move their operations into that building. And then I think the next building is the Hearth building, which is sort of like that main hotel, where you have your entryway, some of the shops, the restaurant, the bar. Lou, is that correct? Okay. Sorry. I think that that's the answer. If he's able to start talking, he'll clarify, but.
Now, sorry, just continue this discussion portion on a little bit longer, because obviously this impacts the pilot and therefore the town. And that's why there was some response on the town at the public hearing. But I'm interested to know where things stand with negotiations for the pilot and the assessment, et cetera. Is that complete? Are we at that point? Or I'm reluctant for the board to go into this without knowing that we have some concrete agreements from the town.
Pilot's done, right?
It's changing, right?
Well, no, the pilot schedule remains the same.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
I understand that
The assessment numbers will be
the
different.
assessment, that's why I'm asking, because the assessment's changed.
To be clear, the assessment that I'm referring to is the base assessed value, meaning the amount that we say the company has to pay 100% of.
Oh.
And so it's just increasing the amount of that base assessed value payment. It is always going to be up to the assessor as far as how the assessment changes, but the structure of our pilot doesn't change, where it's a percentage of the increase over that base assessed value is what the abatement is.
So the base assessment is set, it's agreed upon.
Yeah.
We're not talking about
What it
differences.
is right now. The base assessment, right, Liz? It's just what it is right now.
Right, yeah. So the way that we typically do that is we pull what the current assessment data says, and we just put that as the base assessed value. And the only thing that changed is we increased that base assessed value by including the other one.
Right. Cocos.
All right. So I'm sorry to prolong that. We've got a lot on the agenda, but there we go. So we have Jamie having made a motion and
I seconded.
Amy seconded. So I think we should go ahead and take the roll.
Christopher Moon,
Yes.
Jamie Picon,
Yes.
Tom McCall,
Yes.
Amy Bonaderi, approved, Mark Dole.
Approved.
And for the record, I'm reading from the transcript yesterday, the administrative fee was estimated at $1,099,000 change. And that's why they will pay 1/3 of that when they close the IDA, and the other 2/3, Robin will have the authority to determine when those payments come in, but certainly well before the end of the project.
Yeah, just like the other two we have in the accounts receivable.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is she local?
Yes.
Great, very good. We're on the home run. So now, do we have anybody here from Hudson Company?
Hudson Company.
Not present in the building, but maybe online.
Is there anyone representing Hudson Co. on the line?
I don't think so. This has been a long standing project here. I can just fill in what I know of the project.
Okay.
I've been to the town hall for public hearings twice. And something happened with the first one, so we had a second one.
That was the weather.
And then there was another, yeah, because of weather related, and then another time the county executive declared a state of emergency, so we didn't have the second attempt. So the third attempt, I was there for the first and the third attempt when we actually had a hearing. No one spoken against the project. It was the people in the town hall seemed very much in favor, but we had been told by counsel for the applicant that the only delay in getting the formal approval of the town and the school district is only just getting them together. It's a fairly rural and informal type of group of people involved in this, and it clearly is a well-respected entity there. But they finally getting the town approval on July 15th for formal approval. So not knowing that the board might have a later meeting, they asked that we at least submit to the board this and just say that the executive director is not permitted to execute the documents to complete this until they get the formal approval to her satisfaction, written in writing from the school district and from the town. There's a July 15th town meeting. The concern is simply that there's some very expensive machinery that they're looking to get sales tax exemption on, and making a significant investment in this lumber company that's involved here. And they want to get construction completed before the weather changes and it impacts their completion of the project in a timely way. So we're now down to the question of whether you want to pass this now, whether you can, when you have a later meeting, and figure out the later meeting and not have that contingency in it. But that's the reason it was presented this way. They asked us to do this. And so we accommodated that considering the amount of time this has been pending. So the board's behind the project, I think the project, you can do this, but Robin won't sign anything until this is
Thank you for the suggestion. Yeah.
I have a question. I thought we didn't need the approval of the municipality and the school district.
Yeah, okay, and that's very important. And I'm slipping into the same kind of language that I have always been critical of. Okay, so, but the point simply is that these kinds of matters, it is a factor in whether you get the support of those entities. That doesn't mean they have the veto power over anything that you're doing. So it is a factor, and in some cases, more than others, is an important factor. It may not be for something where you're really not making any significant change to the taxing jurisdictions. So it's merely that, and I agree with you, Amy. That's a good point.
That was actually one of the things that was raised when I spoke with the applicant's counsel. I mentioned the way that our policy is written, it's a factor to be considered whether we have proof of support from the taxing jurisdictions. And if so, provide us with the evidence. And I explained this is the evidence that the board is typically used to seeing. It's in the form of either a letter from the town or the superintendent. And if they require a resolution on their side, then a resolution from them. And in this case, Ron had been working with the applicant on the pilot. He had gone and spoken to the superintendent and to the town supervisor and provided them with the pilot. And all indications were that there was support from the municipalities, and I told them they can come to the board without that support and ask for it to be voted on, but just to be prepared for pushback potentially if any board members have concerns or want to see that. So that's why I just put that language in the resolution saying, if you do want to see that, we can just make sure that closing won't occur on the project until we have confirmation in writing from the municipalities about their support of pilots.
So I would, speak to not so much the mechanics, but the sort of psychology of this. And that is, coming from a small town and having previously been quite involved in Pine Plains and the residents there living next door in Stanfordville, but right on the border. To be at this point where we're about to hear back from them with their, whether they're going to do a resolution or simply a letter, to sort of jump the gun and say, oh no, your point of view doesn't matter so much, seems completely unnecessary challenge to their to their home rule, to their sovereignty. So I think that we can do, as Don suggested, conditional support, and in that period of time, we'll hopefully see this, and that will encourage them. But I do think it's important, regardless of the actual state law, that we, as an organization, take into account these towns.
Yeah, not a requirement, but it's a factor just like getting the documentation from, the reports for the other applicants. It's whether it's positive or negative, we'd like to hear before we finalize our decision, and we can make things conditional on that.
Perfect.
I have no problem with conditional.
This is going to be a massive improvement. They're moving out of antique Carvel ice cream building out on 199, and we'll be making, a significant investment in the gateway into Pine Plains. So it's productive and positive all the way around.
I'll make a motion to approve the authorizing resolution for Fifth Generation Partners and Hudson Company, pending the proper notifications that need to be sent to Robin.
Taxing jurisdictions.
I'll second.
Pending the approval of
jurisdictions.
the two taxing jurisdictions.
Yep. Sounds good. Very good.
Okay. Christopher Munn, Jamie Picone,
Approved.
Tom McCall,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri.
Approved.
Mark Delay.
Approved. Thank you.
We just had the presentation of the software, Switzer. We have Will Jackson, who is here on behalf of the product, and he's going to take us through 7 minutes. That includes Q&A.
Absolutely.
I have a quick question.
Because we're tapped out.
You have a quorum for the LDC if I leave? We need to vote on anything.
No, we're not voting on anything.
I have to go. Is that okay? I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I'm sorry. They're gonna
I
record this. I'm
completely
gonna watch it from my desk when I get to work.
Please go ahead.
Well, definitely. I'm gonna formulate some really good questions. I've got it all.
Right. Peter, if you
Bye,
can,
everybody.
Thank you, Andy.
if you can pull up the presentation for Civic Clerk. And then, Will, wherever you feel, where'd you go?
I'm just right here. I didn't want to get in the way of the door.
Oh.
Anywhere in particular, where to sit around?
Yeah, wherever you feel
You wanna
most
head up that
comfortable,
way,
you can
Albert?
head up that
Certainly do
way.
that.
Just quickly, Civic Serve is an economic development platform that a number of New York State IDAs have implemented and are currently using. The platform is designed to assist with project management in the sense of management of the projects. So all of the applications, the supporting documents that go along with the application, the SECRA, It will act as a repository for project documents where we, as the staff managing, myself and the staff managing applications for IDA and or LDC benefits, are input, and replacing what we currently use, which is Excel spreadsheets. Civic Serve also has the capability of managing the data collection portion needed for Paris reporting. Currently, Jane inputs the data into the New York State Paris reporting platform manually from year to year. It takes us a number of weeks of keying in that data. CivicServe will allow us to key in that data into the platform itself. We can then convert it into a CSV file or an Excel file and upload it into Paris reporting, saving us some weeks. And, you know, we know that there may be some little hiccups along the way, but it'll allow us the ease of not having to manually key in that data into into Paris report. Also, CivicServe has capability for tracking pilots and pilot payments. Currently, Jane interacts with each of the taxing jurisdictions and or their municipalities with sharing information with regards to a pilot and invoicing out to the applicants who have received pilots, and then tracking the payments that come in. The only thing that Jane will then need to do, of course, is to take the actual checks to the bank to deposit them. So there isn't the cash management or financial transaction of receiving ACH or check payments into the actual software. That still will occur outside of CivicServe. And then finally, CivicServe has a CRM component to it. We are currently using another software tool to manage our CRM with regards to business development activities, as well as assisting WEDSI with some of the interactions or overlap with helping startup and small businesses within the county. And this platform will allow us to take that separate activity, put it onto CivicServe so that we're functioning from one platform as opposed to the several that we're currently operating. And so that's a quick overview of the software itself. Will is representing CivicServe, and he can take us through a quick presentation.
Because you've done a good part of it already. That's excellent. But I'm glad that.
Excellent presentation.
Well, thank you, Robin. Sitting working at CivicServe, I'm for the opportunity.
No, I'm here.
Thank you guys very much for allowing me to be here, share a little bit about what we do with some of the other IDAs and EDOs across the state of New York and some of the conversations that we've had with Robin and the team at Think Duchess. I definitely won't go through the entire presentation. I moved some slides around, so please feel free to go through and look through them afterwards. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Robin, is Peter controlling it in the background then?
Yeah, so just indicate next.
Okay, I think we're ready for the next one here, Peter. Awesome. Well, one of the things Robin asked me to briefly touch on was kind of point out some of the other IDAs and organizations that we've worked with. Orange County, right to the southeast of you guys, was the latest addition. They actually just signed on here this week. You'll see some of the other ones there. They all use this for something slightly different or a modular platform, but all of them are routinely using for compliance, pilots, abatements, exemptions, incentives, reporting to the board, annual reports, tracking, as Robin mentioned, Paris as well. Those are kind of some of the key pieces. Some of our other customers use us for things like business retention, expansion, some different property work, but all of those are kind of the core competencies of some of the IDAs. And like I said, each organization does something slightly different, so we work with them in different capacities. But those are the couple of the ones that we work with. Peter, if you wouldn't mind moving on to the next slide. Really, Robin mentioned CivicServe was built to bring together multiple softwares, to bring together Excel spreadsheets, CRMs, GIS, and kind of put them all under one metaphorical software roof so that the team can work collaboratively, work together, report together, and have the most up-to-date version of things. It makes it really easy to report and work out of one collective system. We do a lot of automation as well. So with a lot of the IDAs, the compliance that's appropriate for some of those different incentives, the submission of documents, jobs created versus jobs promised. We automate all of that. On top of that and everything that Robin mentioned, we've also gotten a lot of feedback that it makes it easier to do business with the IDA or the organization from those businesses and developers that may be working with you. Peter, would you mind moving on to the next one, please? This is kind of the scope of work as we've been working and meeting with the Think Duchess team over the past 6 months here. I certainly won't break all of this down, but as Robin alluded to, that core platform is kind of going to stand as the CRM, the end-to-end project management from that first application through the working, the reporting, the compliance, and everything else. We added some on the business retention expansion, some of the site visit work, as well as the business directory. And then over there on the right-hand side, some of those incentives, those abatements, those pilots, credits, exemptions, and some of those bonds there as well. Couple of the platform enhancements. I know the county has access to the GIS, so we integrate directly with that so that we're bringing parcel ownership, boundary, other types of information directly from there. And then one of the other things that we do, and we spend a lot of time, is business data. But I'll hop into that in a second if you wouldn't mind advancing, Peter. I'm not going to spend much time on these ones, but again, those kind of 4 fundamental functions are where we spend a lot of time working with some of the different IDAs and EDOs of New York. Columns 2 and 3, excuse me, are kind of some of the current challenges, the current setups for how we see a lot of IDAs operating. And then over on the right hand is kind of what that looks like through the CivicServe lens. The next one, if you don't mind, please, Peter. As Robin alluded to, kind of the core platform is going to be on that CRM and project management. Won't really chat about it much today, but we also do goal management, so goals and strategic plans of the organization, bringing those to life, being able to track those different types of events, and also some lead management. You wouldn't mind moving next, please, Peter. Analytics and reporting. I'll spend a quick second here. We have a lot of dashboards, so every staff member can configure their own dashboard. That is essentially their day-to-day, what tasks, what projects, what leads, what project and compliance do they have to pay attention to. Real-time reports, so we had a lot of the out-of-the-box reports that someone could pull, up-to-date information on projects, events, compliance, incentives, and then some of those custom reportings. And again, a lot of our board members receive reports from CivicServe, as well as some of the end-of-the-year reporting tied to Paris. Next one, please, Peter. We also have the business module. I won't spend too much time on these. Robin just asked me to call out quickly some of the business retention and expansion functionality in the platform, as well as the site visits. Being able to track all of the different activities that Think Duchess is doing, site visits, calls, emails, phone calls, interactions, organizations, businesses, and developers that they support. Being able to report on those, being able to map those out so you can show specifically what parts of the county you're working, what parts of the county you're providing aid and support to. Next one, please, Peter. And then the last one here, if you wouldn't just mind moving to the next slide, but the end of the incentives module. And this is a big piece for a lot of the different IDAs that we work with. Robin alluded to that end-to-end life cycle. So we digitalize those applications, making it really easy for those businesses and developers to fill them out. We actually score those applications as they come in, so you can see how well they do or don't align with the goals, the initiatives of the IDA. We have things like project eligibility verification, project timelines that say, where's this project at today? What work has been done so far in this project, and what work and steps remain until this project is to be completed. Next one, please, Peter. As well as tracking things like the compliance, the payouts, the incentives, GIS verification, audit trails of everything that everyone has done to the project. And again, those automated reminders and notifications to those businesses and developers so they understand what they're responsible for and when they're responsible for it. I'll pause there for a quick second. I know I'm breezing through it, but did anyone have any questions on the first 2/3, 3/4 here?
Sorry, just on audit trails. So it's sort of like an automated audit trail system, which in itself, so is there a way to audit the audit trail?
You can export it. You can pull anything out from it. Yeah. So for example, if After this, Robin had a site visit and then she approved it to the next step of the project. That would all be searched in there. And yes, you can audit the audit trail by exporting it. All of this stuff is exportable, so you can comb it and go through it and things like that.
This is what I'm asking. So assume that if you're not already, you're looking at how you integrate AI with this. And so that being the case, are you, sort of uploading our internal documents into your system and having AI look at it? And what does that actually mean to our internal security?
Yeah, so we will take all of the current projects, all of those Excel files, spreadsheets that Robin mentioned, everything, all of the applications, and set that up. We actually do that for you. It's web-based and it's secure. The data is secure in transit and at rest. But we have a couple different security measures. I think they might be at the end that you can look through. But yeah, if you have any specific questions, happy to share
That's
some.
within that, but then if it's an AI version, it's, it goes outside.
So it doesn't leave the platform unless you specifically would export it.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So when you're indicating when let's say the application is submitted through the user interface and then it is populated, we review it on our end. You're wondering if someone who then goes out onto AI and says, hey, what are the projects happening with Dutchess County IDA are under review, and what are the specifics for it before that information is
Yeah, no, I
to the
think
public?
that would be an external request.
Exactly, would be a request.
Which would be fairly secure. It's more that if this internal mechanism was utilizing an AI agent to process the data, because that AI agent would actually be linked to.
Right. At this time, we're not using an AI agent in that capacity.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that would be a concern if.
Yeah, we don't do that right now. That's not something that we use. We don't use like an outside AI to externalize anything. Yep. Great question though. Next one, Peter, if you don't mind. Sorry, this is last thing that I like to share. One of the last things here is the monthly business data. So we'll take all the information that the staff currently has. We'll also supplement it with business data that we have. So we'll provide business data on every business in Dutchess County: employee size, revenue, years in business, 5-year growth, even things down to like how much square footage do they occupy. So we do that all in the beginning, and we'll merge it with data that you have. In the middle there, you'll see that we'll also do that on a monthly business. So every month, Robin and her team would get an email notification saying, these are the changes. These are the new businesses. These are the closed businesses. Business ABC lost 30% of their revenue. Business XYZ laid off 200 employees. So again, all of this is kind of under the idea of being proactive instead of reactive, right? Business ABC is struggling. How can we go out there and offer support? Next one, if you don't mind, Peter. Integrations, well, we can skip over this one in the essence of time, but direct to the email and direct to the GIS provided by the county. And the next one, if you don't mind, please, Peter. And then the last slide that I like to speak on is just the onboarding. So as I alluded to earlier, CivicServe does all the implementation, all of the setup. The staff has access to the platform on day one, but we take all of the documents, all of the applications, all of the current projects, and we set all of that up. And then at the end of the implementation time period, we start in on the training. After implementation, all of our customers get a customer success manager who's working with other IDAs and other EDOs across the Northeast. You're able to access them, ask as many questions, implement new pieces of the platform. So if we come out with something new, they'll be able to train the staff. And that's not consumption-based, that's not cost-based. So you'll be able to use them, meet with them, ask for their help as much as you would like. And for today, that's what I had prepared to share.
How big is your company? How long has it been in business?
We just added 4 new people on Monday. So I think our official count's at like 64, 65 employees.
Headquartered.
Yep, 2 locations, Downers Grove, which is outside of Chicago, and then another one in Bloomington, Illinois. Been in business for about 6 years, started as an incentive software and compliance for TIF, tax increment financing. And then I've expanded to about 5 or 6 different modules. And I think we're currently in 33 different states. Yep. We have, like I said, a good chunk of people in the office, but a lot of us work remote too. I'm located right below you guys in Pennsylvania, so not far.
No, that's good.
Yep, right outside North Central PA.
And you have an office of how many people?
About, I think it's either 60 or 65 at this time. Yep.
So Robin, how does it benefit you? or the IDA? I mean, walk us through, I mean, it seems like it's saving a lot of keystrokes for Paris, obviously.
Well, even with regards to us onboarding an application, currently the application comes in, we key it into a spreadsheet, assign it a number, and then populate, all of the fields that we're looking to perform compliance at the end of the year. And then we track that project through the process. And so again, a lot of keystrokes, the high likelihood that something gets missed along the way. If there is, for example, high volume like today, and we're not actually tracking it, or I'm not tracking it along my personal spreadsheet, because that's how I track my work on a spreadsheet, then, something is likely to get missed. If we're with an application that is keyed in by a developer, that information then comes to me as opposed to, and then I'm notified and I can then run a report as opposed to then taking that information and keying it into a spreadsheet. So it eliminates a lot of the human factor on the onboarding, and then allows me to focus on other things.
Now, on as far as it impacts us on the board, now we've been talking about tablets to be able to access documents. Can you speak to how this sort of integrates or could integrate for us?
Correct. We can, we have looked into tablets. We will be sharing that information as well, but it will create, or we can take this information and place it into a drive where as all of the inputs are being provided, then we then push it out into a drive where you guys can then look at it from your tablets, as opposed to all of the paper that we have been generating.
I'll just add too, if you don't mind, Robin, we're
Yes.
soon to be coming out with scheduled reports. So if, one of you guys care about something in particular, maybe you have a strong interest on what project we denied, and maybe your interest is on where our pilots. So you can actually set up scheduled reports to go out to a board member and say, I think you guys are on the second Wednesday of the month. So you can say, okay, the first Wednesday of the month, send these reports to ABC. So you can also consume them that way.
Didn't know that.
So that actually, would we be able to interface directly with the platform?
You could if you'd like. It does not cost per user. It does not cost per license. And there's different levels of users. So if you guys quadrupled in staff next year, the price wouldn't change. You could absolutely do that as well if you wanted an executive board dashboard.
So exactly. So if there was a dashboard for.
And you get to pick what you'd like to see on it, or someone could choose for you. Yep.
So then you said price. Have you analyzed, done some cost analysis? That's the big one.
We've been able to negotiate to a point where the subscription, if I'm accurate, we're now at 32,100 annually.
Yep.
So 32,100 annually.
Yeah, and then we waived the implementation entirely.
The implementation.
And we're thinking the first number of months for free while we get you guys set up, and then starting payment essentially later this year.
And in my budget request to the county, I asked for a portion of that for 2027, but of course, 2026, we're hoping will be part of the trial period. And so 2027 would be the starting of the subscription in terms of the paid portion of the subscription.
Will the county have any use for this?
We could.
Planning or
tourism for that matter.
And we could also,
tourism,
because there isn't a limit to the number of users, this information could also benefit them and they can have access to it as well.
Typically, we find they might not be daily users, but if there's a portion of a project they're using, you can tap them in, you can assign them tasks. They can, of course, come in and quickly see where something stands. But yes, Robin, exactly right. Again, no price per user. It's not user-based. So you could certainly add, and there's different levels of user, right? So someone from the IDA wanted to be an all-encompassing user, maybe a board member, someone from the county was read-only, they could certainly do that as well.
Well, there's also modules, right?
Right, and I'd like to add that we're having this presentation with the planning department at the county 2 days from now, July 10th. So,
32,100 annually, for how many years?
We do a year to year, but essentially, as Robin mentioned, the first year would be greater at that, but at the cost of 12 months, if that makes sense.
I'm thinking more or less what kind of increases to expect.
We do, on average, it's about 4 or 5%, which is industry standard. And it's written into the contract up to 8%. But like I said, average across all of our customers is about 4%. We also, I mean, we can do longer than 12-month agreements, but 12 months is fairly typical. We have some out there that are up to 5.
Robin, did you have the savings, the saving amount of what we're paying now for the platform that we use?
for the CRM platform that is used by business attraction and business retention, that's $6,000.
That would be removed.
So this would remove that cost.
6,000 a year.
6,000 a year for the CRM platform we're using now.
How many modules are you talking about?
Three total, and I can show you, we use something called the Technology Opportunity Assessment, which is essentially a glorified checklist that we went through with Robin and her team to say, these are the areas of the platform that would be applicable, these are the areas that you probably wouldn't use. So always happy to share that.
And so the amount of sort of input from the company, obviously access to the platform, but access to human assistance or whatever you might need. I mean, is this a training component?
Oh, absolutely.
Support after the fact.
There's ongoing support. So of course, there'll be heavy support from Civic Serve on the onset. They will be the ones who convert our current spreadsheets and CRM into their platform. They will conduct training to the level that we need. Right now, I'm thinking of at least a month's worth of training for all of us in the office, and based on everyone's, level of understanding and availability, and then ongoing meetings once a month from there.
We're again, it's not capped in any way. So typically we see maybe bi-weekly in the beginning and then 6-12 months down the road when the staff is familiar. But again, if you hire 2 new staff next year, we would spend the time training them as well. It's also a knowledge base and all trainings are recorded if you guys need to access them at later dates.
Yeah, that will be.
So looking at it from the other end, is there a limit to how much support you can provide?
There's not.
Okay.
Understand that if people are in there asking us questions and spending more time, that's beneficial to both parties. Yeah, it's both technical and knowledge based. And if something comes out with Civic Serve in regards to, we have these new functionalities around project management, then we would sit down and introduce you to those new functionalities too. Or if it's, we're launching a new type of exemption next year, then it's setting that up and including that too.
What references do you have to the company, and how did you find them, and what's the story?
When I attended the NYS EDC event in February, I was introduced to Civic Serve there, and then asked Will to make a presentation to the entire team, including our BR, our attraction and retention folks. Ask them to ask questions. What are their needs? What is the benefit they see of it? What are the benefits of the software that they're currently using that we don't see here? And so there was a really good exchange of information at that time. And so as other questions came up along the way, I reached out. Will provided the information. He provided us a contact in the Monroe County IDA, whom Jane and I spoke with earlier this week. I don't remember what day it was. And then I had been having separate conversations with Orange County IDA, who at the time had not made the decision to purchase a subscription, citing, that it wasn't affordable to them at the time, so.
Also, there's some issues with the state monitor that they were working through. And actually, in the end, that was one of the reasons they were really interested in Civic Serve when they got handed down those 40 pieces of compliance.
Gotcha.
Those were things that we were able to help.
Gotcha.
Understood. So what is the biggest entity that you're working with?
The biggest entity in terms of volume is probably Kansas City. They have about 2,000 projects that they manage in the platform. The second biggest, we have a couple of other large ones out there.
Is that Missouri or Kansas?
Yes, yeah. So about 600,000 or 700,000 city. Some really large counties in the Chicago area. Monroe County, I think, is about 800,000 people. And I think they're a staff of 17.
Yeah.
So they're pretty large too. And the use case is pretty similar in regards to the fact that they have an IDA within the BRE within some of those other components.
And they cited that they have, was it 400 or so projects?
Yeah.
Do you remember that number, Jane?
All I know, I think their Paris report was 5 times our size.
Yeah, yeah.
They have a lot of volume.
Yeah, we were stymied by that number of the number of pages of their Paris report.
Yeah.
All this had to do, we're very, very in time with NYSCDC. I'll be going to the IDA Academy next week in the board training meeting. We were presenters and speakers at the event that Robin attended, well, at the February event too.
February event. Mhm.
Sounds encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much for allowing me to present. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Thanks for hanging around.
So
And so we are going to conclude this meeting.
that concludes.
Well, LDC.
And then we still have the LDC, but there's nothing on the LDC, but
No, I
we
understand.
gotta adjourn.
We got to adjourn.
Oh, the minutes.
Yeah, in the minutes.
In the minutes, we can go quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll approve the minutes. And you have a financial report? Well, you see?
For the LDC, yes. Just, it'll be quick.
Robin, are you serving lunch?
I shouldn't.
Okay.